No, no, I'll just go into it, yeah. I better get used to it.
That was the walk
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Castle Bar in Castlemagner. The beautiful music there opening today's programme came courtesy of the Tobin family, and indeed those who have been listening for many Saturdays now will remember that when local radio was coming to you from For the Willows, I think the first musicians that we had live on the air there on the Saturday programme was the self-same Tobin family, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more from them here in Castlemagner as the night goes on. But to get this particular programme off the ground, I've been joined by a lady who's very well known, particularly to the younger people of the parish, and that's the local schoolmistress, Mrs. Welsh. And indeed this lady has been with us on local radio before as well, when her choir from the school and the local church presented half an hour of Christmas carols, and it was a programme that won much praise around the North Cork area. But tonight Mrs. Welsh is going to talk to us about the school and a little bit about its history. No? You'll be happy standing, would you?
I don't mind.
Yeah. But you will like yourself?
I think I prefer to stand.
Yeah.
Would you prefer?
Yes.
I want to use the video one on it anyway.
Yeah.
I am.
You'll have to come into that now. But not, you don't have to, pick you up at a distance then. Definitely. Was it Joe?
The history of formal education in Castlemagner can be dated back to 1812, 174 years ago. It is recorded that on June the 2nd, Cecilstown School was established. This school was not attached to any church or chapel. Walls were of lime and sand, mortar and stone, and had a roof thatched with reeds. It was erected by Sir William Beecher, and he paid the rent. It had 2 desks, no seats. These desks could accommodate 20 pupils and were used by the writers. The other children provided themselves with temporary seats. Monday was set aside for religious instruction, and parents were at liberty to withhold their children from attending on this day. 5 days were given to common branches of moral and literary education for 10 hours each day. School opened at 8 a.m. and ended at 6 p.m. during spring, summer and autumn. School opened at 9 a.m. and ended at 4 in winter. There were 120 children attending school each week, 80 boys and 40 girls. James Ryan was the teacher in this school of 1812. He would be an ancestor to Paddy Ryan, the retired teacher of Kilbreen. At this point, we must mention that this school was erected by Sir William Beecher for children of his tenants. Castlemagner Parish owes a special debt of gratitude to the Beecher family for all they did for education in the parish. The Beechers were highly educated people, and because of their great respect and love for education, they did all in their power to secure that the children in Cecilstown would receive formal education. Then in 1837, 5 years after the National School Bill was passed, a school of 50 boys and 30 girls was established in Cecilstown under the National Board of Education and aided by Sir William Beecher. Apart from these schools, hedge schools played their part in the history of education in Castlemagner Parish in the early years of 1800. The Mrs. Scott taught sewing and a little reading in Cecilstown from 1848 to 1852. Then in 1850, a Michael Ryan, another ancestor of Paddy Ryan's, opened a hedge school in Cecilstown. A John Davis and a Dan McCarthy taught in a hedge school at Castlemagner Cross in 1848. In the year 1848, the National School, which we now call the Old Schoolhouse, was built by Sir Beecher and named Ballyhass National School. This ensured that all the children in the parish would receive national education. We have school records dating back to 1863. Records further back, as far as 1848, must have been destroyed in a fire that broke out at some stage in the school. Scorched pages tell the tale, apart from being told this fact by the late Jack Welch. This fire must have happened in the girls' school, as there are few records available of the girls' school. Now in 1848 there were two separate schools, boys downstairs with a headmaster and an assistant, girls upstairs with a headmistress and an assistant. There were also monitors. Research on education in Ballyhass School from 1848 up to 1917 reveals some interesting facts. A wide variety of subjects were taught. Mathematics had 4 branches. Writing consisted of writing on slates and on paper. English had poetry, grammar, reading, spelling, music, drawing, physical and applied science, geography, trigonometry, and agriculture. Agriculture had many headings: farm offices, livestock, implements and machines, manures, farm accounts. It looks as if they ran a small farm. But the remarks passed by inspectors were usually uncomplimentary. For example, instruction on agriculture is very indifferently taught, and this was recorded several times. Children in 4th class, 5th and 6th classes were inspected in agriculture each year, and children spent 2 years in 5th class and 2 years in 6th class. Pupils came to Ballyhass School from Sally's Cross, Kippock, Ballyrushen, and all the townlands around. And it is interesting to see all these townlands in print over 150 years ago. These reports show a special column for sacred poetry and scripture lessons, but no marks were ever entered. Records were kept of results of each child's annual examination in every subject. Attendance during these years was not very good. One reads attendances of 57 days in a year, 10 days in a year, and the highest attendance in the year 1883 was 196 days by a boy aged 6 from Cecilstown. Realizing that children walked to school and long distances at that, it is no wonder the attendance was so bad. The occupation of the fathers of those attending school varied. One reads a carpenter, gardener, smith, servant, coachman, labourer, publican, mason, very few farmers. And we know why. The land belonged to the gentry, only the privileged few owned land. On leaving school, it is recorded that the children either remained at home, left the area, or emigrated. The children did not leave school at 12 years. They were often 15 years plus. During these years, children paid a school fee, and a record was kept annually of each child's contribution. Some paid nothing, and the amount varied from 14 shillings to nothing. In 1881, Edward Ryan taught in Ballyhass. He was Paddy Ryan's grandfather. His wife was O'Flynn from Arda Prior and was principal in Liscarroll School the same time as her husband Edward was principal in Ballyhass. Billy Alex's brother was appointed and paid by the Beechers to drive Mrs. Ryan to Liscarroll daily. That was his sole occupation. In 1891, a Mr. Patrick Murphy was headmaster and continued as headmaster for many years afterwards. In the year 1893, the inspector's report was not complimentary towards Mr. Patrick Murphy and demanded attention be paid to reading and grammar. This report was sent to Sir Beecher, who was patron and manager of the school. He in turn sent the report to Mr. Patrick Murphy with this note. Mr. Murphy, please note above observation of Mr. Daly, the inspector, and effect some improvement in the subject of reading and grammar before the inspector's next visit. Signed, Manager W. Beecher, the 18th of July, 1998. Thank God managers are different today. In 1904, Mr. Tim Hanlon became headmaster and gave 45 years service to the parish of Castlemagner, a wonderful record of service in a school and a parish. There are past pupils of his still living in the parish. His memory lives on. In 1917, a very interesting letter was received by Sir Beecher from the Office of Education, calling his attention to the fact that rural science and horticulture was not a subject of instruction, even though the teacher, Mr. Tim Hanlon, was fully qualified to teach. The necessary equipment would be provided if there were sufficient children available for instruction. The secretaries of the Department of Education signed the letter in the following manner. We have the honour to be, sir, your obedient servants, W.J. Dilworth and A. Bonaparte, secretaries. Now I shall repeat that. We have the honour to be, sir, your obedient servants. I am certain that Father Foley or Father Buckley were never addressed by the Department of Education in such respectful terms. In 1949, Jack Welch of loving memory became headmaster. He had been a pupil of Tim Hanlon's. Jack's devotion to the school and his spirit will live on as long as Castlemagner remains on this earth. His contribution to education in Castlemagner can never be weighed or assessed by us. Arieste Gorevanen. In 1956, Ballyhass School became co-educational. The boys and the girls' schools were amalgamated. In 1964, the new school was built. Our modern school, with all its conveniences, is so different from the school of 1812, with its roof of reeds, straw on the floor. But the important thing is that this generation of Castlemagner children are being given the best education possible. And those of us invested with this huge responsibility feel honoured and privileged that we are a strong, vital link in that unbroken chain that links 1812 with 1986.
Listening there to the history of education in Castlemagner, it strikes me, Mrs. Welsh, that if the records are preserved, the records of the school in the parish, you're literally preserving the whole history of the parish, are you?
Oh, yes.
Are records, generally speaking, in national schools fairly well preserved?
Oh, yes, because from the time that they went under the department, they had to keep the records. But then they may not have been transferred to new schools.
Now, I know a number of parish priests who complain that Americans are coming home and ask, was my grandfather baptized in this church in such and such a time? Do you get people coming to the school asking?
I had just one person, a David Cronin, and we found his name, and the information that we found was that he came from the orphanage in Fermoy. And then we talked about all that, and he told me that at that time, that would be around 1920, people were paid £1 a month for rearing orphans. And this shows us how poor people were if they were willing to rear a child for £1.
£1 a month?
£1 a month. And then once a year, they were taken to Kanturk and clothed from head to toe.
Yes, the other thing I must ask you, of course, you were talking about attendances there in the past. Attendances today are a bit better, are they?
Oh, they're excellent.
And a good thing you said there was at the late 40s, the early 50s it became co-educational.
Yes.
Are you a believer in co-education?
Oh, I am sure.
And it doesn't cause any great problems?
No, not really.
Mrs. Welch, thank you very much indeed. Let's say you feel a great relief now for having me. How are you? I've met Mrs. Daly before, so. Yeah, and I
want to sing first.
sing, yeah. We'll just take the song first, and I just have a word with you then again afterwards. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're okay in that anyway.
I'm alright. Yeah. Thanks for the fine. Yeah. Now, just to check with him. If you don't have any something like that, are we coming? Are we coming? Well, I hope that my headset.
No, she's kind of, if you swing it over, turn it into the song.
For I know where we spot, it's a place of great fame. Now it lies to the north, for I'll tell you its name. It's my own little birthplace, and it's on Irish soil, for they call it lovely Derry on the banks of the Fyle. Now at court the wee lass, her age was 19. She was the fairest collie that ever you'd seen. Her cheeks were like roses, and her hair waving twine, and she came from lovely Derry on the banks of the Fyle. By those banks I have roamed in the dear days gone by. With my sweet maid I strolled, not a tear, not a sigh. Our fair charms without equal, from the north to the mile. Oh, sweet maid from lovely Derry, on the banks of the Fyle. But now cruel misfortune drove me from my home. 'Twas my fate in deep sorrow to sail o'er the foam. And now from dark strangers in grief I recoil, while I pine for dear old Derry on the banks of the Fyle. I was young, I was wild, like the rest of the boys. I had many sorrows, now yet many joys. I worked hard for a living, all day I did toil, far away from lovely Derry, on the banks of the Fyle. Far away from lovely Derry, on the banks of the Fyle.
There wasn't any forward coming on, so we were all right, yeah. I shouldn't have been sent off, Mum, were you?
That's right.
Hold on a minute.
This is my parish.
Are you in Castle Magna Parish?
Castle Magna Parish.
Sometimes I tend to forget at times because it runs into the bar there, yeah. Yeah, I just a couple of hours. Just a couple of hours, I think, yeah. We'll still do it on that one, yeah.
No, if you talk to the yellow, you talk to the yellow.
I'll leave that one for you then, yeah. And there, of course, a lady whom we've had before on Out and About from, I would have said from Kanturk, Mrs. Daly, but you're in Castle Magna Parish, is it?
That's correct.
And Castle Magna, it goes in there to the town, of course.
Oh, yes, we do.
Tell me, the Jackie Dalys, the Daly family are still making good Irish music, are they?
Plenty of it. He's going to Alaska for next week or the week afterwards. They're looking for Irish music out there.
Is he
He's very busy.
going as part of a group, or
Oh, he's going with Pop, the band book, you know, this is David.
he has been out before, of course, has he?
He's been in Iceland. There's not many places he haven't been.
He hasn't been, yeah. And it must be very hard to come back, I suppose, and settle down in Kanturk, then having seen those kind of places. What about yourself?
He won't settle down for his
Any ambitions to travel yourself?
No, not now.
Yeah. I suppose Jeff's and Castle Magna, that is fair enough.
That's fair enough.
Mrs. Daly, thank you very much indeed.
And thank you.
How are you, ma'am? We'll speed them up now, so we get going, yeah.
How am I going to start? I said that the Greyhound staff is a hobby or something. If I had known this, I would have written out, isn't it?
But you're better off not to have it written out, because you're talking about... I've been joined by a lady here. I've been asking if she answers the name of O'Donoghue or Brown or Mrs. Lynch. I suppose you'd answer for almost anything now, yeah?
Yes.
I think people would recognise you as the lady who has a great interest in greyhounds, is that right?
Yes. It started as a hobby, and I didn't know anything at all about greyhounds when I started first. And the first few were moderate, but then I got the idea that I should get better breeding.
And you loved it, you went along?
I picked up a few good pups. And the first good one we had, we bought from Bertie O'Sullivan in Kanturk. And he did 29.16 his first race, and he was sold immediately. His name was Duhallow Chieftain.
And in the breaks, 30 seconds is good. That's good, is it?
Very good altogether. Very few do 29.16 their first race. And the next one we got then was a pup I bought for my nephew Lon Sexton. He was living with me at the time. And his name was Brendan B, and I'm sure that everybody in Castle Magna remembers that name, because he won his race, and then he went into the Upton sweepstake, and he won all heats of it, and the final in 29.45. The Guinness Trophy came along then, and he was a very good breaker, and even though it was a top-class competition, he won that also in 29.45.
Is it very important that they break fast?
Well, it's a great advantage if they can stay in front. It's a great advantage. He was exceptional. He had very good early foot. And he was sold for a big price at that time to a Spaniard named Senor Blasco. That was in 1968. And he won the Pigalle Wonder Stakes for that man immediately.
So he got his money back?
And he got his money back. And at that time we had, I had a pup for myself. He was Castle Joker. And he was a coursing breeding. He didn't ever run on the track. And he won his Duffer Stake in Blarney in 1966. In December 1966. And his next outing was in Mill Street, where he won a trial stake in January 1967. And he went into Clonmel for the Derby, and unfortunately he ran unsighted in his first course. And he was a very young pup. He was born in June, which is a disadvantage in coursing. And it was a great feat for him. He was taken down to Clonanna for the Irish Cup. And the same year, it was a very wet year, and the ground was underwater, and it was delayed for a week. And they cut channels in the field. And he was leading in front in his first course in the Cup. And he went into this drain and stumbled, and the other dog got the advantage, and he was just beaten by that much in the first round of the Cup. But he was eligible then to run in the purse the following day. And he won all his courses in the purse and won out.
Maybe it was
which was a great achievement for a young pup. And the following year, then, if people remember, it was, we had no coursing because the foot and mouth disease came. And he lost 1 year. And the next year he came out in Mid Street again. And he won the North Cork Cup. And all these dogs were trained by Paddy O'Keefe in Mid Street. And I have to pay tribute to Paddy that I'd say in the trainers he was the best.
It's very important, isn't it,
Yes.
to be a good trainer?
Oh, very good. And I don't think there was anybody to equal Paddy O'Keefe at his best.
Was he able to get that little bit extra?
Oh, he was really, he had a great knowledge of the dog. And he was a great trainer.
How important is look?
Well, you have to have look. But a good breaker
You must have a good dog as well.
makes a lot of his own look. And they were the main ones. After that, then we had High Key. She was a pups I bought from Mrs. Putin Medal out of Kilkeskin Rossa. She won her first race in 29.95, which was a great achievement. And she went into open competition immediately, and she won her first round in 29.75 and was sold off to America.
Big money again.
Well, fair. And then Lon Sexton had another one. He had Go On, and that one came second in the Laurels. So in the meantime, I changed my name to Lynch, and my new husband gave me a present of a pup, and he turned out to be very good too. April Promise was his name, and he was in the final of the Laurels. Didn't have the best of luck. A dog crossed him and upset his pace. So, but it was a great achievement to get to the final of the Laurels.
Okay.
And we won a stake in yard afterwards with him. Well, we've had several since, but those were the main ones that would be known in Castlemagner.
Would some of them stick in your mind as being that little bit better?
Oh,
obviously,
yes,
would you?
yes. Brendan B., he was an outstanding dog.
Do the names of dogs, do they tend to go on to, when you mentioned Kilkeskin, I would immediately bring to mind the late Patrick O'Callaghan.
That's right, that's right.
I think Knockrower goes with the certain lot of dogs, does it?
Knockrow goes for Dennis Lynch in Ahabollock.
And you know,
Yeah.
you kind of recognise a certain amount of... I
Yeah.
suppose the question I should ask, is there a lot of money to be made out of greyhounds?
There is, I suppose. If you have the right one at the right time, you'll make a lot of money.
And what about, is there a lot of hard work, all this walking and everything?
Or you have to really be dedicated to the dogs. They can break your heart or they can fill you with joy.
And obviously you've got your share of joy out of them, have you?
Oh yes, I'm very pleased with what I have.
And
Yeah.
tell me now, anyone coming up in the future that someone could make a few bob out of?
Oh, we have 2 qualified at the moment now, and they're very young. We must only wait and see.
And are there names of them, or would that be a state secret?
They're actually our own breeding. Long ago I bought a pup from Billy Guerin of Newmarket, Miss Highland breeding, and she was a very faithful servant. She has bred several litters, good winners, maybe not anything really top class. We sold them too quickly anyway. And these 2 pups now are her last, but we have some of the breed still.
And of course, when you have a good video and tell you hold
Yeah.
on to it,
Yes,
lovely.
that's right.
We hope they'll make
Yes.
plenty of money for you. Mrs.
So,
Lynch, thank
we
you very
hope
much.
we'll have a celebration in Castlemagner again out of it.
We look forward to that.
Yeah.
Talk about Castlemagner, one of the people probably best known throughout, not alone Ireland, but throughout the world, associated with Castlemagner would be the Legion of Mary in by Edel Quinn. And I've been joined here by Mrs. Breen, who now lives in the house where Edel Quinn was born. And Mrs. Breen is going to tell us a little bit about Edel Quinn and her early days.
Well, as you all know, Edel Quinn was born just outside St. Turk in Greenang, and it's the home of the Green family, and she was born there in 1907, and I am very privileged and honoured of being in her house, and I'm also a promoter for the cause of Edel Quinn. I wonder if many people know that. A promoter has to give out about 100 leaflets every year, and the big thing we want to do is to get people praying, and we have got a lot of requests to her, and I hope that all Castlemagner do pray to her from time to time for any favourites they have. And she was a very holy person, as we know, and she was baptised in Castlemagner Church 4 days later by a priest by the name of Father Green. But Father Green made a bit of a mistake in the baptising of her, but anyway, it worked out that she was called Edel instead of Edel.
Was that a kind of an accident? She was Edel by accident?
Yes, that was right. She was born on the feast of the exaltation of the Holy Cross, and her ambition was to enter a convent as a young girl. She was a very religious person, and she attended 2 masses on Sunday. And we know her father, Charles Quinn, was a bank official in the National Bank. He was a Galway man. And her mother was a Clare woman. She was Lucy Buck Brown from Clare. Her father's profession entailed her many changes of residence. Edel's early years was passed in a series of towns. Finally, the family settled down in Dublin. Edel was 17 then. Edel was a very joyous person. She loved music, dancing, and tennis, and for a period was captain of the school cricket team. Once she got into trouble, I thought this was very funny. One time I gave a book to a person from Castlemagner, and he said how athletic she was, I suppose, that she was stealing the apples to a local doctor. But and to make things worse, she tripped into a pool of water while he was chasing them. She was reported in school, and she was remanded by the headmistress that time, which was Mother Quanis, gave her a severe scolding. Edel was 20 when she joined the Legion of Mary in Dublin. Shortly afterwards, she became seriously ill and spent a long time in hospital. She later resumed her Legion work. In 1936, Edel was appointed Legionnaire Mary Envoy with a commission to establish the organisation in the vast territory of East and Central Africa. They did not want her. She was missing from a meeting months, and it was highly discussed that who they're sending us a child to lead us. Soon it became evident to them that she was a worthy leader. She was thrilled with the offer to go and accepted it. On November the 23rd, Edel landed in Kenya and was met by Bishop Heffernan. At his advice, she left at once for Nairobi. She got 2 branches of the Legion going within 3 weeks. Being happy about the Legion in Nairobi, Edel began her work further afield. In September 1940, Edel returned to Africa, continuing landing at Europe. By this time, her health was failing rapidly. By the spring of 1941, her weight was down to 5.5 stone. In October 1942, with consent from her doctor, she decided to return to Nairobi to resume active Legion work. When her friends met her, they were shocked at the change in her appearance. She was dreadfully thin, her hair was grey, but she lasted out for another year. Early 1944, she made a retreat in the Carmelite convent in Nairobi in preparation for death. It was beautiful, she said. Being in heaven, she wrote to a friend. The end came very quick. One day when she was sitting in the garden of a convent, she collapsed and died almost immediately. On May the 12th, 1944, a large number of missionaries, and she was buried in the missionary plot in Nairobi. She received the favours with a number of people have received favours through her intercession. It is firmly believed that she will be officially glorified in Rome during this coming year.
So it looks as if Castle Magna will soon have its own saint.
I hope so. Well, the big thing we are looking for people to pray, and that is very simple, but I'm afraid we're not getting that.
Who knows, maybe someone listening today might be tempted to take up the challenge and join. If they wanted further information about Edel Quinn, who would they contact?
Well, I suppose the Legion in Dublin is the place always to contact if you want any information like that. Conchillium is the place to go to.
Mrs. Breen, thank you very much indeed.
At this stage, I would ask the people who are taking part to please keep up here near the door. And anybody who is not taking part, we're not degrading you or anything, but there are about 50 more people to go, and we'll be here till about 4 o'clock in the morning. So anybody who is not taking part, would then please go to the far end of the car. Everybody knows who's taking part, and they can stay up here near us where we can arrange it. And when it comes to the end of a song or a bit of music, make certain sure that you let the people of North Cork know you enjoyed it. Put your hands together and give them a good round of applause. Kick the door or kick anything you like, make it a noise, but not until then.
And if there was a chorus joining.
The dark a ship was anchored on a bright St. Patrick's Day. In the quay a lass was sighing for her lover gone away. In her hand she held an emblem, and its parting leaves were free, and her parting words were, darling, look at these and think of me. 3-leaf shamrock, I adore thee. Your 3 leaves I long to free. When there's bride or days in Ireland, I'll come home and marry thee. Just before had started as she laid her hand in mine just before we had parted. She looked with loving eyes so kind to my coat. She laid an emblem, and its parting leaves were three, and her parting words were, darling, look at these and think of me. Three-leaf shamrock, I adore thee. Your 3 leaves I long to free. Wind is brighter days in Ireland. I'll come home and marry thee. For tonight I am in exile, far from home and far from thee. Next my heart I'll wear your token love, no matter where I be. And oh, the seas divide us, and your face I may never see. Wind is brighter days in Ireland. I'll come home and marry thee. 3-leaf shamrock, I adore thee. Your 3 leaves I long to free. Wind is bright, our days in Ireland. I'll come home and marry thee.
Now, I suppose that anyone who has passing interest in the history of the countryside will have heard of the various brigades of the old IRA around the countryside. And I've been joined by the last survivor of the 4th Battalion F Company Old IRA, the one which operated out of Castlemagner, Jack Horgan. The last of the line, Jack?
The last of the line, yeah.
Can you remember some of the other people that were with you?
Oh, I can remember most of them anyway.
Names like?
The captain was Johnny Connell, full of Aline. There was John McAuliffe and his brother Tom. Davy Leary and his brother Dan. Stephen Hawley, Denny Bryan, Dan Callahan, Jack Cullen,
Paddy the Wire down there, would
Paddy the Wire, that's right.
You've got a lot of, it's a long time ago. Yeah. What kind of times were there to be out in the trouble?
They weren't too bad, you know. Sometimes they might be rough, all right.
Did you do a lot of training?
We trained twice a week.
Where would you meet?
In different places around the parish.
Going to fields or houses or something?
Fields mostly.
Yeah. You were young, you didn't take a whole lot of notice of it, did you?
No, nothing big.
There wasn't, who would the big high up men around the area, who would the commanders be?
Sean Mylan was the boss, I think.
Was he the boss of this area? Would you come across him now and again, you would?
Now and again, not too often.
What kind of a man was there?
He was all right, you know, a nice man. Fairly strict,
Was he very strict?
Oh,
yeah. Tell me, you were, as an army, was there a fair amount of discipline?
Oh, there was. Great discipline, all right.
What about the danger of being shot? Did you ever feel that way?
I'd never think it in time.
Wouldn't you think of it at all?
No.
Tell me, did you do your share of digging trenches and knocking trees and that?
Oh, I did a lot of it. Mostly at night, of course. Yeah.
What would you do? Go out at night and dig trenches across the road?
Trenches across the road at night, yeah.
Where around here now would you put trenches?
Different main roads especially, like, you know, different places.
Would you go down out to the Kentuck Road or the Killarney Road?
All the road, yeah.
Tell me, I think at one stage you set up an ambush below in Ruskeen, is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
You were involved?
I was, yes, but they never turned up.
Yeah. What? What? Tell me now honestly, were you lucky or were they lucky? You were both lucky. Ruskeen, of course, the young people now wouldn't know that, but Ruskeen at that stage was an ideal situation for it, was it?
Oh, there was slope like up and on, but I think the people that were married a few days before they had spotted and was reported.
A little information went somewhere?
Yeah.
What, you were waiting for the army to take money back west, was it?
Yeah, money back to Kerry.
And you knew that time?
Oh, I did, yeah.
What did you do? Did you spend long there?
I was there for a good bit, but we got tired of waiting, then we buzzed off.
When there was nothing happening?
Nothing happened.
Looking back as well now, say, the time when the raid was in Mallow Barracks and that, would you all have been more or less on call out around times like that?
We've been there left all right, but we were never called up there.
Were you ever involved in any active duty store?
No, nothing spectacular.
Nothing spectacular, yeah. Maybe it was just as well.
I see. I can hear it hard.
Yeah, tell me. It's a great sensible way of looking at it. Tell me, how did you manage the day's walk? Did you out most of the night? Had you still to walk during the day?
I had to walk away during the day, yeah.
What was the reaction of the ordinary people to you? Did they say you were daft or did they support you?
Oh, we were fairly well supported.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd know your houses to go to, would you?
Oh, there were certain houses for us.
And there'd be more where you wouldn't be welcome at all?
Oh, not a bit.
And you know that after a while? They tell me when the treaty discussions were on and that, had you a training camp up in, can you remember, were you out for were you up in there at a training camp?
We were for a bit.
And what, you just went away for a fortnight, is it?
Yeah, up to a week.
And what, go through military manoeuvres or discipline or what?
All training for different stuff.
And we mention of NAD now, back in Cullen the other night I was talking to a man who had a recitation about the NAD roundup or the NAD ambush.
Yeah.
You'd remember that, would you?
I would remember it all right, yeah.
Yeah, but of course to be a bit out of your line, you wouldn't know how...
No, it was out of our line up there, you know.
Tell me now, looking back 60, almost 70 years later, was it all worthwhile?
Oh, it was. We freed the country, sure.
Yeah. and here's the $64,000 question. Having freed the country, do you think we've made a good job of our freedom?
So far anyway, there's a big pulled in yet.
And will that come?
I'd say it will come all right in time. It will take time.
Only wait for it.
Yeah.
Tell me now, if you saw young lads going out doing what you did that time now, would you say they were daft?
I wouldn't. That's just a good cause.
Yeah.
They'd be right.
Once the cause would be right?
Yeah.
But the other thing is it must be reasonably lonesome now for you when you see all the old comrades going.
Yes, it's tough, all right.
Is that very tough, it is? But, and are you a great believer in the military honours at the funerals and that?
Oh, I am, yes, there's food, all right, you know.
It's nice to see the country paying tribute to the people who deserve it, is it?
Oh, it is.
Yeah. Lovely. Jeff Hagan, thank you very much indeed for that, Joe. Thanks very much.
When I was a lad. When I was a lad, I was so glad to go out in the daytime with me fork and a bottle and a cork to help out in the haytime. tossing hay. One fine day I met young Lucy Bailey, and I said, my dear, are you often here? She said, yes, sir, twice daily. Well, we had such fun in the summer sun. Lucy was so thrilling, so sweet and pure, but I wasn't sure if that girl was willing, until one day among the hay we were working gaily, when she ups and slips and her garters ripped, and I went there twice daily. Did-a-rum-doo-dee, did-a-rum-doo-da, da-rum-da-dee-do-randy, did-a-ri-doo-dee, did-a-ri-doo-da, da-ri-doo-dee, twice daily. Well, Lucy's daddy was very mad. He chased me round the hay barn. Now he said, my son, now you've had your fun. The time has come to pay now. The girl you'll wed, the old man said as he waved his shotgun gaily. If you don't, he says, where'll put me lid? You won't sit there twice daily. So the very next day in the month of May we held a ceremony, and we paid off the vicar with a gallon of liquor, and we rode to the church on a pony. To Lucy's joy we had a boy, what a little darling. He's round and fat as a Cheshire cat, as perky as a starling. Did-a-rum-doo-dee, did-a-rum-doo-da, da-rum-da-dee-do-randy, did-a-ri-doo-dee, did-a-ri-doo-da, da-ri-doo-dee, twice daily. Well, now we're old, the story's told, 40 years together, though we often stray where we toss the hay in that old time summer weather. Well, kids, we've got 10 or more, we goes on quite gaily, though I'm old and grey, when I get me way, I still go there twice daily. Did-a-rum-doo-dee, did-a-rum-doo-da, da-rum-da-dee-do-randy, did-a-ri-doo-dee, did-a-ri-doo-da, da-ri-doo-dee, twice daily. Did-a-rum-doo-dee, did-a-rum-doo-da, da-rum-da-dee-do-randy, did-a-ri-doo-dee, did-a-ri-doo-da, da-ri-doo-dee, twice daily.
Father Buckley, who I think came to Castle Magna back in the late 50s and never went away. Is that right, Father?
That's true, yes.
Now, it strikes me that you would have been kind of the last of the line to come through the old training period, and then when you were out with your qualifications, they turned everything up in its head. Would that be right?
I don't think they turned everything up in its head. We still believe in the same God, I hope. Maybe the methods that are used now are a bit different to what they were then. You know, the methods of training candidates, the fields and so on. But I think the young priests coming out, I think they're marvellous. I think that, they have a great affinity with the young people, and I think that they will do great work according as the years go on. I think they will.
A church under siege, is the Catholic Church losing ground?
I wouldn't think so at all. I think that you have a different, you probably have a different outlook and a different way of looking at things, but I think that the younger generation growing up, that their idea of God as a person and their relationship with God, I think will stand them in good stead, I think, later on in life.
And just because it's different doesn't necessarily mean that it's either better or worse?
No, I wouldn't say it's worse. If anything, it's as good and maybe better than it was in the old days. I think so.
As times, particularly economic conditions, get slightly worse, do people tend to go back more and ask about a God? And that's when things are going well, people don't really want to know, do they?
I think that's true enough, and I think especially as well, I think any time that you have persecution, I think the faith gets stronger in people. And you want to look at a place like Poland or somewhere like that, where all the seminaries are full of candidates for the priesthood. And I think here in our own country as well, if you go back a couple of 100 years, the time of the penal laws, you will find that even here in Castlemagner, you had, when the penal laws were at their height, you had a Protestant church over in Killavarick, and because of the laws that were at the time, and because of the effects of these laws, some Catholics conformed, as they said, and they went over and joined the Protestant church, and they used to go to worship over in Killavarick. more of them then would, they continued on as Catholics, and they worshipped as Catholics, and because the Catholic Church, you see, was outlawed, they used to worship at the time where the present Holy Well is over at the foot of Ardine. That is why that particular Holy Well is called Tubbery and Downing, you see, Sunday as well, because Mass used to be said there. We're inclined to take our religion, I suppose, for granted today when it's presented to us, as it were, on a plate, but we are inclined to forget how much our ancestors went through to hold on to the faith. At that particular time, for instance, you know, rights of way through lands which belonged to Protestants, you see, were forbidden, and the way the Catholics got over that when they wanted to go to worship, maybe at a Mass rock somewhere, they travelled the bed of the river. That was common ground then, maybe not so common ground today, in some places anyway.
Just goes to show that there's a way around every regulation if you look for this there.
I suppose there is.
I think now over the past period of time there's an effort being made to get the laity more involved in the church. Is that right?
There is, I think so, and I think that's a very good thing, and we are trying to do that here in Castlemagnus, and I think we're succeeding to a certain extent anyway. We have readers and we have people working in the art of society, and I think the more people that you get involved, the more lay people you get involved, especially I think, you know, the better. We have a new parish council now being elected at present, and hopefully when the stations now will be over, we'll have all our voting cards in, and we'll be able to announce new parish council. And we hope when we get those together that we will get quite a share of ideas and suggestions as to what might be done to improve life in the parish, and so we'll wait and see what happens there.
Now, people would sometimes say, you know, where parish councils are concerned, that priests are all in favour of them, but they're not prepared to give many little bit of power at all.
Well, we had a parish council here, and I think that particular idea was abroad at the start of it. It was feared that it would be merely a rubber stamp for to agree to everything that the priest might suggest. It didn't work out that way. I think it went awfully well. As a matter of fact, the first chairman of our first parish council was, you know, the man who owned this lounge bar here, and he was a good one. And I think that the people that were in that particular parish council, they did a great lot of work, because at the time we were changing around the church and, you know, changing around the art and all that. The important thing, I think, is that the parish council have something to do. That's what keeps them interested, you see, in it, like.
There isn't any point in meeting if you haven't something to discuss. Is it that the people haven't prepared to take the power, or the priests haven't prepared to give it?
I would say maybe in some cases it's a combination of both. I would feel that at the present day, I think that most priests know the amount of good and the amount of potential that there is in lay people. An awful lot of lay people today can do an awful lot of things in the parish far better than priests can, because they are more equipped and they are educated to do that. And I think it would be a very good idea if you know, more jobs in the parish used to be given off to the lay people to do.
And I suppose could make us all realise that it's our church rather than the priest's church.
Yes, and I think that's one of the things that came out of this, you know, it came out of the Second Vatican Council, that we're all the people of God, and that we all have our own parts to play in that people of God. And instead of having the situation where you had them and us, I think it's a much better job that you know, we all realise that we all belong to God's family, and that we're all here to do a job, and that by cooperating with one another we can do that job better.
I suppose coming down to the actual physical church in Castlemagnus, you're a little bit unique in the interior of your church, are you?
Yeah, the present church was built 1859 or 60 by a parish priest at the time who was the Father Hogan, and it was around 1971 then when we had to do a bit of reorganising in it, that we decided that we would take the plaster off the walls, and when we got the plaster off the walls we discovered what beautiful stonework was there. So we decided to leave it that way, and I think it has turned out awfully well, and it has been, you know, much admired by people from outside the parish who come. And for a small little country church, it is a kind of a gem, really.
It's as nice as you'll find anywhere. Finally, if you were looking into the future, what would you like to see happening for Castlemagner?
I'd like to see us having a hurling and a football team that will win a few championships.
Father Buckley, thank you very much indeed. Gentlemen, that concludes the first programme in the first series, and there are still a few minutes left, so we're going to wind up with a bit of music and a sing-along. And I've just thought of something up here now. I thought that if we're all on the one road, it would be a great way to finish up the first programme. So we get the lads here to lead on, and we want the roof to be lifted to the small bit lower one. So we're going to all join in and sing along on the one road. Remember, this programme will be broadcast on next Saturday from 1 to 2, and God knows, wouldn't it be a grand way to Castlemagner famous if we were all on the one road?
North and south and
hint to me, or should I say Marie Hinchin, she'd probably be still better known around this area, giving a very lively start there to this, our second programme coming from the Castle Bar in Castlemagner. You know, people from my side of the country, when they look north, one of the things they see sticking up in the skyline would be Lower Castle. And while it's reasonably near me, I must confess I don't know an awful lot about it. But to help remedy some of that, I've got Tiger O'Sullivan. Ty, give a little bit of the history of Lower, have you?
That's right, Pat. Lower Castle, it stands on a hill immediately south of Siddlestown, and it's in the parish of Castlemagner. It stands 90 foot high, and its walls are nearly 10 foot thick at the base, and they're tapering to 6 at the top. At the time of its construction, the castle was 7 stories high, but 5 of these were substantially destroyed by fire in 1922. It is a rarity among Duhallow castles in that it is still inhabited. Lohort in Irish is Lobgort, which means herb garden, and the castle domain contained about 220 acres originally. Lohort Castle is traditionally said to have been built in the reign of King John in the 12th century, and it is a Norman construction. At the end of the 16th century, the McCarthys, who were chiefs in Duhallow, are believed to have captured the castle from the Normans, and Donald MacDiarmid Carty lived there in 1590. Then one Dermot McCarthy of Lohort was MP for Cork in 1613, but he mortgaged the castle then to Sir Philip Percival in return for a financial loan prior to 1641. The castle was retaken by the Irish before being reduced by Sir Madras Wall with a battery of cannon in May 1650, but once more the castle returned to English hands, becoming Sir Philip Percival's property after the war. Sir Philip's descendants, the Earls of Egmont, held the castle and its domain until the 1890s. During the early 1700s, the castle had numerous tenants, but around 1750, the Earl of Egmont repaired the castle, and from the 1770s to 1841, Lohort was not rented out to tenants, but agents of the Earls of Egmont occupied the castle during those years. During the Great Famine in Ireland in 1845 to 49, tradition tells that Lohort was leased to tenants who suffered severe crop losses when the dreaded predator blight attacked. The castle was then repaired again by Lord Egmont in 1876 at the cost of £20,000. The then Earl also built an annex east of the castle, which is locally known as the Redoubts, but that was also destroyed by fire in 1922. While the Egmont lands were sold in the 1890s, Lohort and its domain became the property of Sir Timothy O'Brien, who in turn sold it to Mr. Eustace of Cork, who never lived in the castle and had the castle locked up prior to 1922. The local Irish did not like this, and while the regiment were out on patrol one day, set the castle on fire. A descendant of the great Gaelic scholar and landleaguer Dan McCabe bought the castle from Eustace, and this man, Jim McCabe, died in the castle, and whose family came from Ballinmaquirk, which is in the southwest part of Castlemagner parish, and he left the castle and the estate to his daughter Kitty, who lives in the castle today with her husband Dan Horgan, who comes from Banmore in Kentorp. And then in 1978, then myself and a few classmates of Mallow Vocational School did a group project of Lohort Castle and surrounding castles, in which we came fourth in Ireland. And at that time also, we repaired the key of the door, which had been broken for some years. It's 1.5 foot in length, and with the help of our teachers, we repaired and restored the key and presented it to Mrs. McCabe, who is a mother of Kitty Horgan, and she was very pleased indeed. I myself, being a neighbour, live only a few hundred yards south of the castle, and because of it being so unique, I am very proud of our castle, and I think rightly so.
Before before you go, would you tell me a small bit about the key? What kind of a key was it?
The key was had been broken for some years, and it was unusual, really, that it was a foot and a half in length. It's kind of hard to believe, really, but
is it how the door was terribly thick, or why was it that length?
the door itself is a couple of feet thick. It's a fine structure, but actually before pushing it right off, you know about it anyway.
yeah, there's no danger. There's no danger of anyone putting your shoulder to start pushing it in.
That's for sure.
Is it the only castle in the area that's occupied?
Well, I believe that is only one of two of its kind in Ireland that's occupied anyway.
I always knew Castle Magna was a unique place. Thank you, Sullivan. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Pat.
And just as a little variety in the night's programme, and this time we've got a recitation from Alan O'Keefe. What are you going to recite, Alan?
I'm going to recite Guilty or Not Guilty.
Is this something you've done for score or for school or what?
I did it for the Redori competitions, and I got as far as Castlemartyr, where I came third.
That was an experience on its own, so was it?
Pardon?
That was a good experience?
Oh,
going
it
that
was,
way?
yeah.
Good. All right, away you go.
Guilty or not guilty? She stood at the bar of justice, a creature wan and wild, in form too small for a woman, in features too old for a child. For a look so worn and pathetic was stamped on her pale young face. It seemed long years of suffering must have left that silent trace. Your name, said the judge as he eyed her, with kindly look yet keen. 'Tis Mary Maguire, if you please, sir. And your age? I am just 15. Well, Mary. And then from the paper he slowly and gravely read. You are charged here, I'm sorry to say it, with stealing 3 loaves of bread. You look not like an offender, and I hope that you can show this charge to be false. Now tell me, are you guilty of this or no? A passionate burst of weeping was at first her sole reply. Then she dried her eyes in a moment and looked in the judge's eye. I'll tell you just how it was, sir. My father and mother are dead, and my little brothers and sisters were hungry and asked me for bread. At first I tried to earn it by working hard all day, but somehow times got bad, sir, and the work all fell away. I could get no employment, and the weather was bitter cold. The young ones cried and shivered, little Johnny's but 4 years old. So what could I do, sir? I'm guilty, but do not condemn. I took, always at stealing, the bread to give it to them. Every man in the courtroom, grey-beard and thoughtless youth, knew as they looked upon her that the prisoner told the truth. Out from their pockets came kerchiefs, out from their eyes sprang tears, and up from old faded wallets came treasures hoarded for years. The judge's face was a study, the strangest you ever saw, as he cleared his throat and murmured something about the law. For one so learned in these matters, so wise in dealing with men, he seemed on a simple question sorely puzzled just then. But no one blamed him or wondered when at last these words they heard. The sentence of this young prisoner is for the present deferred. And no one blamed him or wondered when he went to her and smiled, and tenderly led from the courtroom himself the guilty child.
one of the things that happened when Castlemagner's new community centre opened was that there was an upsurge of various sporting organisations and indeed other organisations as well in the parish. And I've been joined here by two members of the badminton club, Deirdre Cronin and Donald Murphy. Which of you are going to talk to me?
Well, I'll start first, Claire.
When badminton, why the interest in it?
Why the interest in it? Well, I think over the years, I suppose the club has been successful in sport, and the club was actually formed in 1979, and there were 35 members there at that time that started, and to date there are 32 members, so we're kind of gone down a bit, but not to worry. And in, I suppose, 1980, competition actually started in the club, you know, and it wasn't really until 1981 that the club got really going and started winning competitions. And in the year 82-83, the club got through to the Cork County final of the league, and also in 83 and 84. And last year then, the club reached 4 finals, and so far this year our Division 4 team have won the Cork County Championship so far.
That strikes me as being very successful.
Well, it is very successful.
In a short period of time, yeah?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. And then we enter various cup matches, like the leagues and the Championship Cup, and there's the Hospital Cup and North Cork and the Newmarket Shield. They're the various cup matches we enter. And the Hospital Cup was won twice, last year and the year before, and hoping to win it for a third time this year.
That'd be nice, but let's get the third one.
Well, it would, because in the hall out there we're playing the first round, so we hope to win tonight.
Oh, you've a home match, have you?
We have a home match tonight, definitely. And in 83 and 84 season then, the club also won the Newmarket Shield. And we have 5 teams in the club. We have 2 ladies teams, and we have 3 mixed teams.
Any gents team on their own?
Pardon?
Any gents
No,
team?
no, no gents team set up yet.
That sounds to me a little bit like discrimination, doesn't it, yeah?
Well, it isn't really, I suppose. They make up for it in our mixed teams. And, well, when beginners come, they usually start at Division 6 and they work way up until they reach the top grade, which is Division 1. We have no Division 1 yet, but we have a few that are on the way up.
You're working on it?
Oh, we're working on it, yeah. And our club nights then are every Tuesday and Thursday night, so of course we're always looking for new members, so if anyone is interested in badminton, they're always welcome to come along. And of course we have the juveniles then as well, and they're on Saturdays, Saturday afternoons, and we have an under 12 and an under 16 juveniles.
Is it a hard game to play?
Well, if you have the interest, you're going to put the effort in, and you will, you'll get to know how to play it, because like we have a few fairly good members in the club, and they're willing to teach.
Yeah, there would be coaches definitely.
Oh, definitely, yeah, I take that from my own experience.
Donald, you play it yourself, you do?
I do, yes. And if I can play it, anyone can play it.
I like the way you say that, yeah. What amount of practice to win, to be successful at it? Obviously you must put in a certain amount of practice. How often do you practice?
Every Tuesday night and Thursday night.
For a couple of hours at a time?
Well, it could start at 8 o'clock, and it might be 2 o'clock in the morning before we go home. So it's a lot of practice like that.
Would you need to be very fit?
Well, it would help, I suppose, if you were fairly fit. It would, definitely. I suppose that applies to all kinds of sport,
Are there many badminton clubs around the Cork area?
There's a good show. All the neighbouring parishes have a badminton club. All the neighbouring parishes have a badminton club, like, which I say we're going as good as any one of them now at the moment. We are the most successful anyway.
No, if people were trying to make up their mind, I'll join squash, I'll go playing badminton, I'll go this, that, the other thing, why should they go for badminton rather than anything else?
It's a way more sociable anyway, the badminton, because you come into the club by night and you'll meet all the neighbours and everyone, and you'll meet people in the parishes you never met before, and you'll get talking to them, but in the squash you go in and play your game, and you go home and you meet no one, only the person you're playing with, so.
So it's a sociable game along with everything else, yeah?
Yes, it's very sociable, yeah.
Does this mean that if a number of people come together on the one night, there's a lot of people sitting around waiting while the others are playing, or does the game take long?
Well, we generally play 10 minutes, but if there's a small crowd in, like, we just play the games, you wouldn't, like, you would have a game every 3 or 4, like, most will come by night, it'd be about 16, that way.
And of course, it wouldn't be known in a place like Castlemagner that they'd come down to just while they'd be waiting with it?
Oh, every night you have to give Jeff a call in here. You wouldn't be a good member otherwise.
I was wondering if that was part of the training.
Yeah.
Just to finish up then, is there anyone who was interested, who should they contact if they wanted to come along?
Well, I suppose they could contact me since I'm the secretary if people are interested, because we're always looking for new members. You know, always. They're always welcome. Come along.
Yeah, I'll come along to the hall on, did you say?
On Tuesday and Thursday nights.
And they'll be more than welcome.
Oh, more than welcome.
Dawn and Deirdre, thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
That was 10, wasn't it?
I just stepped in to see you all. I'll only stay a while. I want to see how you're getting on. I want to see you smile. I'm happy to be back again. I greet you big and small. For there's no place else on earth just like the homes of Donegal. I long to see your happy faces smiling at the door. The teapot bubbling on the hearth as I step off the floor. And then to see prepared for me a shake down by the wall. Oh, your hearts are like your mountains in the homes of Donegal. A tramp I am and a tramp I be, a tramp I'll always be. My father tramped and my mother tramped, so tramping bred in me. And if somewhere my ways is stayed and won't have me at all, sure you'll always find the welcome in the homes of Donegal. The time has come and I must go. I bid you all adieu. The open highway calls me forth to do the things I do. And when I'm tramping far away, and I'll hear your voices call, and please God I'll soon return unto the homes of Donegal.
One of the things there Father Buckley was saying when he was giving those last few words, you know, was that he'd love to see the GAA and Castlemagner maybe producing a few teams who would win a championship or a cup in the reasonably foreseeable future. But tonight I've been joined by a number of people who've been involved in the GAA and Castlemagner some of them in the distant past, some in the not too distant. First of all by Jack O'Connell, one of the original founders, I think, of the GAA and Castlemagner. Would that be right, Jack?
That's right, yeah.
How far back would that be?
34 or 35, I say, roughly.
Can you remember some of the people that would have been involved around about that time?
Well, the meeting we held that founded it was Jack Welsh, the late Jack Welsh, and Jim Cotter, Michael Barry was there, Davy Bryan, Tommy Lyons, and I think Connie Mead was there. There was another man, Davy Sullivan, he was over at the minister's working. He was there. He wanted to take a photograph that night, and I said, we'll wait until we win something. I'm feel sorry ever since.
Wouldn't that photograph be available going to have now?
It would be definitely available now.
That meeting, of course, would have been in the old hall, would it?
It was in the old hall, yeah.
One of the things I think that always comes up to GAA and Castlemagner was the tremendous amount of work that Jackie Welsh did.
Oh, definitely. He had the brains as a person, and he had the organising ability, like he's that way built.
Yeah, and he had the interest as well.
And he had the interest as well. Mainly in hurling, though, we divided that way. It always be for football. Jack was a hurling man.
Can you remember then the early years? What did you do? What did you take part in?
Well, the first match I remember we were played, it was below in Longville for a tenner man.
I was sure now that you wasn't breaking the amateur rules.
We were, but I met an old timer from the parish lately, and I was saying to him, and he said, "Do you remember Castle Magna playing a match before there, a football match, and they played for a half-tier supporter."
I wonder what did they do when the match was over.
They celebrated.
I wonder was there enough in that battle.
Hardly.
As a matter of interest, who were you playing in Longville?
Firville was the team, yeah.
And any idea who won?
We won. We won, and the return was below and Jack in the hole for above a man. He finished up roughed off.
Did it run its time?
Well, Jim Cottle got an awful skilp in the head of Hurley, and the Longville, some of the Longville fellas said, "That was meant for me," so say, we'll make the road. That's finished it.
It was time to be going home.
It was time to be going.
And then, when did the teams begin to build up then properly?
They were poorly for a long time, although we actually won a hurling medal in Drummahan at that time, after that league. I had it until Connie Sullivan reminded me where we won it. I didn't really know, but we did.
You've been interested all your life, have you, in GFL?
Nearly all my life.
But football, you'd say, more than...
Well, it was the tradition like this. But even today, now, it's different, like young fellas who prefer hurling, it's lighter, and they prefer learning, actually.
Tell me, would you watch say football on television? What would you think of it there?
I like Kerry playing somehow. I like their go somehow or other. Those Kerry and Dublin matches were great, I thought. Anyway, last year's final, I thought, was a great match.
Regardless of who would win, you'd enjoy seeing good football?
I would. Oh, yes, it is nice. It's nice.
Tell me, going at a slight tangent, apart from football, were you interested in anything else around the parish?
Well, at that time, in or about that time before, we used to have open coursing. You know, a club here and open coursing. I'll always remember they met in Bannercross. And they started up, and they were getting no hair anyway, but they knew there was a hare somewhere. But he had the habit of coming out in the main road in the traffic if the dogs were after him. So Jack Hinchin of Banner, he said, "Hold on a minute," and I see him going out the gap. And before long, didn't he appear in with a live hair under his extra.
And would it be fair to ask now, if the man cut the hair, what were the dogs doing?
There's a lot of expensive dogs going around that wouldn't catch him as quick as Jack would catch him.
Jack O'Connell, ladies and gentlemen. I move on then, Jack. Conor Sullivan, Connie, when did you become involved?
I became involved about 1935, 36. At that time we registered a minor hurling team and a junior hurling team.
And can you remember some of the names from that time?
Well, I can, yeah. I suppose the important name and the one we looked up at the time was Jackie Welsh. But we weren't fortunate enough to have him for all matches at all, because Jackie at that time was teaching up in Leitrim, and it was rather difficult to get down for but he always made sure to be there for the important matches. You had Jackie Nagle, John Connors, Tyke Hanlon, Parag Hanlon, John Joe Roach, Patrick Denahy, just to mention a few offhand coming up now.
Tell me now, where used you practice and play your matches at that particular time?
We was practicing Castle Magna, and that was in the earlier couple of years. But after 2 years then, in 1937, we had there was a football team put up. And the second year then we were joined by Gotmore, and that changed the whole thing. And for the first year we played novice, and for the remaining years we played junior.
Now, Jack was saying here that he'd prefer football. Was that your preference as well?
Well, we held our way to school, at school, and home from school, and we did never see football until that team was registered. And from there on I played football, and I would prefer football. Actually, I did better playing football. I wasn't as good at anyone, but I would be better at football than hurling.
Does hurling require an awful lot more skill, or does it just look that way?
I think it's something that comes naturally. You're a born hurler or you're not.
And that's it?
I think that's about it, yeah.
And you'd have been involved in the good days, the glorious days of Castlemagner, would you?
No, unfortunately. I think to follow the history of Castlemagner rather more closely, we didn't get very far in the earlier days. Our first victory, or our first set of medals, were actually won on the 27th of August 1937 at County Sports. And that year we played Drummahan, and Drummahan had the best team in the division at the time, and we beat them there. And that was incidentally the first day I ever competed at a sports meeting as well. And then in 37, we were fairly well recognised by the Duhala board as being a force in the football field, and we were nominated to represent the division in the county championships. And we travelled to the athletic grounds in Dinnyhouse, actually. Arrived a bit late, tugged off and gone on the Boggy Road and went into play Cove, and we were beaten. That was 39. I actually have a photograph taken of the team, of the junior team that played Mill Street in the semi-final of the division in Pat O'Neill's field in Gortmore, and that was taken on the day the war broke out, on the 1st of September 1939.
Now, I'll be asking you in a moment to face us on that photograph, but we must take a break here, and I'll be back to you. I'll give you a few minutes to try to remember some of them.
Thank you, Pat.
It was taken September 1939, the year war broke out. Can you remember some of the faces?
Oh, well, I can indeed, yeah. Look at them in the front row. I can still visualize them, actually. You have Davy Fitz, John Joe Fitz, Owen Tomei, Father Ladden Stunnaho, still have enough to think, I don't know, Jackie Welch, where Johnny Connell, Dinny Connell, Dinny Patsy as we would have known him, Jones O'Brien, Dan Connell's Balnaltic. That's the ones that come to mind readily. Jack Keller got more. Mick Shea. That's what I can remember.
When you consider that it's almost 50 years ago, it's a fairish amount of them. Where did you go then after that in the club?
The year after then was our best year. That was 40 with we and 40, but our best year was 41 actually. We played in the semi-final of the division in Kanturk. And Milsey won the Junior County Championship the year previously, and they came back to win the junior for the second year in succession, and they held back 4 of their senior players. They had a senior team as well at the time, and we beat them in Kanturk. That was Dick Kiley and Mick Leary, who played for Castlemagner afterwards, incidentally. He was witness to it, and he was kept back from the senior team to win the County Junior Championship for the second year in succession, but fortunately we beat him. But in turn we were beaten by Clondroyd in the final of the division in Mill Street in that year. And as that team as such, that was the end of that team. For some reason they broke up that year and they joined them in 42.
I suppose possibly there was a bunch of people together, and did they kind of opt out together, or what did happen?
I don't really know what happened actually. It just have to make it out. People are very disappointed. But that was the end. I didn't play any more Gaelic after that. I played rugby from there on and concentrated on athletics.
Now, in a while, I want to come back and talk to you a little bit about athletics, but while we're actually at the moment, maybe the...
Yes, after that, the club was reorganised and Dinny Ryan will fill you in all that.
Yeah. Maybe I should ask Dinny Ryan why they left Connie Sullivan going playing rugby. Dinny, you've been involved, you told me before, in GA and Castlemagner virtually while you were in the parish.
42. Father Glavin came here as a curate and he reorganised the club in 42. And from that on, they started to move. In 47, they had 3 games with 4B in the Examiner Cup. And I think that those were the games that made the club for the championship. They drew twice and we beat them in the final. And from that on, they went on to win the county championship.
There was great interest throughout the whole parish at that stage, was there, when the team...
At that stage there was. But those 3 games were the games that stood to the team to go forward from. There was one other game that I'd like to remember, is that against Canavy and Macroom in 52, it was the second year we won the county. We were 2 goals down at 10 minutes to go, and things looked bad for us all right. And we had one of our best men on the sideline. He got injured in the first half. And I think Jack McCarthy said to Father O'Connor, he says, all or nothing, he says, we'll have to chance him. And there was only one place they could play, it was in the full forward line. He went in anyway, and within 10 minutes he scored 2 goals and won the match against Canvey. He was went on after that to win the county against Bandon.
He was a valuable man to have, wasn't he?
He was one great man, all right.
And after that, then the club had a very successful run, had it, up into the 50s.
They had during from 48 to they won 3 county finals, 2 in football and 1 in hurling, and they won the Duhallow football championship 6 times, 4 in hurling, Navan Cup once, and the hurling league twice, and minor football twice, and minor hurling 3.
That's a nice victory sequence, wasn't it?
It was a good achievement for a small club, you know.
And Castlemagner it's a comparatively small parish, isn't it?
Small parish, well, the smallest parish in the Dice, I think.
No, there's something as well that possibly I know you had a great interest in, that was the success of the Camogie team. And of course this is a great year to recall the Camogie team, for they made a comeback.
That's right. They came back this year all right. They were very good around 1952. They won the championship in 1952. But there'll be somebody else talking about that later on, I'd say.
We better not take the ladies' part, yeah?
But we had 3 men there at the time on the Castlemagner team. We had a very good team, but 3 men who came along, and they won all Ireland of Cork. That's Johnny Connell, Mick Shea, and Jim Downey. And Hugh Sullivan also won the minor hurling and minor football. He was playing Cartuck at the time.
Is it very important for a country parish to have a county player? Does it give them great enthusiasm?
It is. It means a lot, all right. It gives the club a very good name, you know.
Is it hard for a country parish like Castlemagner to get a member on a county team?
Well, when they see him playing at matches, in different matches, if they think they're worth their place, they'll always give him a trial.
But a good man will always come up?
He will. He'll give you a chance, all right.
How did you manage for playing fields? For, I suppose one of the great lacks in Castlemagner over the years has been the lack of a playing field of your own.
We were very lucky in that stage now, because we had a pitch down in McCarthy's place, and we had a pitch here from John Brown and Mrs. Brown, and a pitch from Barry Taylor. And of course, for the last 25 years, I think we had a whole other farm from John and Mrs. Sheller. So we were never short of playing.
I think for back in Drumtariff we were talking to some people and they said one of the reasons they hadn't a pitch there long ago was because the people were so good in giving them land that they didn't really need a pitch.
I could have known it. I'd say that's, you had a bit that here too, of course.
Looking back over the club in Castlemagner, who would you see? Jackie Welsh, obviously. The priest played an important part of the club today?
They did. Father Clavin, when he came here, he reorganised the club. He did a lot. He put on a very sound basis. Then Father O'Connor came along, and he played a very prominent part in it too. But two men, I think, that we could thank a lot for us, Jackie Welsh and Dick Kennedy, for the amount of work they put into it. Especially Jack now, as regards the juveniles. While he was in charge of the juveniles, we were never short of material for a minor or for a junior team.
Is it very important that the young people coming up?
Very important, very important. And if we don't look after the young fellas, well, I'm afraid we're in trouble here.
Looking back, you've got an immense amount of pleasure from being involved in the GAA, have you?
I did. It was just Sunday after Sunday, and you were always looking forward to it, and you had something to talk about.
And would you find, when you'd been involved for a while, the sons of the people that you were involved with earlier on were coming up as well?
That's right, that's right. Yeah.
I know I'm going to be talking in a while about the present team, but maybe I could ask you, what do you think of the present lads today?
Well, there's always a hope that they'll come up, you know. I think the material is there, if we can get the dedication to it, you see. But we're hopeful anyway that things will come right. I think the material is there, if you could only get the right spirit there.
For the club went through a very lean period in the 60s.
It has. Well, that can't happen to any club across the sea. We had 12 or 13 great years anyway, what you call 12 glorious years. Yes.
Jack Connell, what do you think of the lads coming up today before I go over and ask the youngsters what they're doing for themselves?
Well, I give the young lads there in the school a hand there a half an hour a week, but anyone that looks innocent says they're just rough.
Well, but that's a good sign of nothing, you know.
So they'll be, if there's any bit of a row, they'll be able to look after themselves. Tell me, I suppose it's a bit of an unfair question when he's listening, the amount that Dinny Ryan has contributed to the GA in Castlemagnor over the years. Has he contributed an awful lot?
Well, I think I put it well. Well, one social below, he made Castlemagnor respectable.
I suppose that's as good a tribute as you could have at the end of any year. And I'll move back here a small little bit and I'll ask Jerry Sweetman what the GA are doing today and why aren't they repeating the success of the 60s and the 50s, I suppose. Jerry, what are you doing for yourselves?
That's a very difficult question, especially coming after Mr. Ryan after 50 years involvement in the club. I feel, I must say at the start, I feel a bit of an imposter coming in here after 5 or 6 years in the club and speaking for the club. He has spent half a century involved. But I think if you take the fact that there are only 5 junior clubs in the county that have won 3 counties between hurling and football, and Castlemagnor is one of them, that's a big achievement. Now if we came along this year or last year or in the last 10 years and won another one, we'd be on our own, except for 2. So that's more than we could hope to achieve. But just taking the present team and the present club, we still, I'm involved for the last 6 or 8 years, and I didn't know much about the club before that because I wasn't in the parish. But to win isn't all important. It's to be out there playing and having a team. And we have had a hurling and a football team every year. We've contested every competition, championship and league. We've won a Junior 2 football in 82. We were in the final of Junior 2 football in 84. And giving a fair account of ourselves in the hurling. But we wish for it to be better, no doubt. We would like to win, like every other club, and to do an awful lot for the club. But together with that, we have an arrangement with Kilbrain over the last 7 years where we have a giant underage team, and that's called Croke Rovers. And it mightn't be that people don't know this too well throughout the county, that Castlemagnor have underage teams, because it's Croke Rovers that are advertised for winning and losing and playing and all the rest of it. We have under 12, under 14, under 16 and minor teams every year, and we contribute to the team with Kilbrain, 50-50 basis. And we've had tremendous success down through the years. With the result that we have an awful lot of young players, somewhere between 16 and 24,
coming onto the junior team just about now. And we would hope over the next couple of years that they would blend in with the junior players we have and would provide us with a winning team. We would hope that anyway.
Now, the point is often made that by the time a young lad reaches 20 or 21, he has played so many games underage that he's really round off or buttoned out. What would you feel about that?
I would agree with that in clubs where they concentrate on younger players. But if you take this is a bit of a myth actually, because if you take here in our region especially, the 1st of April we will start in at 9-a-side games for the schools. Then we'll have under 12, followed after that. Then we'll have under 14, and then we'll have under 16. But each of these age groups stop when the other starts. So they're only playing for about 6 weeks, you know, which is a very short season. So I would agree, all right, that children that make the grade in regional teams and county teams, that it takes a lot out of them, and that they get the glory when they're young, and it's more difficult to motivate them as they get older.
The standard of hurling and football in Duhallow generally obviously has a bearing on how successful any club can be. What's the standard like at the moment?
The standard in both hurling and football, I don't know, is it better or worse than it had been down through the years, but it's very, very respectable. You take it that Knock the Green won the county 2 years ago. That's out of the region. The Duhallow hurling team last year, over the last 3 years, have given a good account of themselves. The Duhallow football team has went to the county final 3 years ago. So there's plenty of talent in the region. I don't think the standard is any less than it is in other regions.
Now, despite all the achievements that Jack and Ginny would talk about in the past, one thing they never managed to succeed was in having a pitch of their own. I hear you're doing something about that at the moment, are you?
Well, we weren't having too much success on the field, so in 1981 we decided that we would put a bit of money together and hope to buy a pitch. And we said we'd start off with a parish walk in 81. We had a parish walk and collected £1,000. So we said we'd be walking for an awful long time before we'd have the price of a field. And the following year we planned a 600 club, we ran that, and we made £18,000 in that. And that really put a little purse together for us that we were able to go looking at land after that. And in the last month we have made an agreement with Mr. and Mrs. Con Lynch. Actually, they're here tonight, and we're about to sign for a pitch in their land very shortly.
But you will really have a home of your own after all these years?
We hope so anyway. And I think it's very, very essential, especially for the underage teams. It's a fright, you know, I don't want to knock Mr. Sherlock or any other body that has given a field down through the years. You know, we appreciate what they did for the club and what they did for the parish. But it's very difficult to go into an uncut field and hurl, especially for under 12s and under football. And under 12 and under 14, where they're small and trying to play hurling and trying to play football and not being able to find a sliotar even in tall grass, and that, not taking from the people that are giving the land now, but it isn't a very satisfactory arrangement. So we would hope that if we had our own pitch, that we'd have it cut and bare and that the kids would make much better use of it.
And I suppose the days are gone too, haven't they, where youngsters are prepared to tag out by the ditch when it's raining and conditions being bad and all the rest of it. I mean, that day is gone, is it?
It is, yes. Well, we would sincerely hope it is gone anyway. You know, if you have the pitch, you will surely have, well, we aim to have dressing rooms as well. Within the region, every club has fairly good facilities. You know, the day is gone where people tag out by the ditch and go and leave their clothes in a bundle and come back and tag out and put back wet clothes on them or sweaty clothes or whatever else. That day is gone. And it's rightly so as well, because people deserve better than that and expect better than that. And the GA as an organisation are providing a facility now as good as any rugby or any other organisation. I think this is important because the GA is very strong in rural areas, and if they won't provide a facility, I don't know who will.
But this means that the people of Castlemagner are going to be hearing from you again in the not too distant future, and you'll be aiming to tap the great reserves of goodwill that are there, I suppose, in the form of an extra few bob.
I'm delighted with that question actually, because we're in the process at the moment of planning another 600 club, and we will be going back to the people of the parish. Now, you asked a while ago, was it a big parish? But As far as I know, it's about 300 households, which is a very, very small parish, and it runs quite close to neighbouring parishes. It runs into the centre of Cantork and Bantier and Ballyclough. It's very spread out, so it's very, very difficult. But it's one of the best parishes in the county to go collecting money, and they're fabulous people to support. Anything, when we were collecting for the hall, they supported it very well, and when we were collecting for the 600 Club on the last occasion, we got fabulous support. It was an unbelievable result.
And I'm quite sure they'll support this as well. Now, I'm going to ask you to put your head in the block. Success for 1986, where do you see the prospect?
I think I don't expect immediate success in 86. I think this year will be the building year for the team, because we have a lot of young fellas, like I said already, between 16 and 22 or 3 that will be blending in with the present junior team, and we will have good fun in 86, but I reckon we'll reap the rewards in 87, in both hurling and football.
Sherry, thank you very much indeed. Now, I want to go back to I was back to kind of on top of about athletics. Did I get in? Was there anything else any of you wanted to say? Did I get it all in? That's the main American, if I got it all in, yeah. Now, when I was talking to Conor Sullivan there, he mentioned athletics and athletics in the parish. A number of Castlemagner people made their name in the athletic field over the years as well, didn't they?
Well, that did, yes. I think you have to go back a very long way to get to Stafford. And the first man that, in my mind, and I have to go back 100 years to get in line with this one, is Mick Healy of Clonteens. Mick won a Munster medal in 1886, just 100 years ago.
Would I be right in thinking now that he'd be related to the man that went on to win Olympic gold medals afterwards, Dr. O'Callaghan? Were they the same family?
Yes, he would be his uncle, actually. And until this very day, I wasn't quite sure what he won. But I was speaking to Dr. O'Callaghan this morning, and he told me that he won a Munster medal in '86. And he was beaten for in the Irish Championship that year by Larry Dunn of Fort Water in Waterford. So you have to go back a long way. And I suppose tonight I'll be talking about people that won Irish Championships in Castlemagner. But I think we can go a small bit further there and say that we are entitled to claim we have a half share in 2 Olympic medals. Dr. O'Callaghan's mother came from Castlemagner, and he would be half Castlemagner, half Derrygallen. So we have a half share in 2 Olympic medals to blast off with.
That's nice to start with, isn't it? Yeah.
And that is right. But I think the next man in Senior that are coming into line would be Billy O'Callaghan, Billy Alex. He also won a Munster medal, I believe, shortly after that time.
And coming on then, would the Guineas come in then?
No. The next man to fall into line then was Dennis McCarthy of the Height of Guineas. Dennis won an Irish medal in 120 yards hurls in 1909 in Mallow. He won another Irish medal in 1912. And he was runner-up in the Irish Championships in 1910 and 11. And he was not only was he 120 yards hurlman, but he was also a good all-rounder. And on one particular occasion, I believe that he was competing in the long jump down in Kinsale. And he was beaten into 3rd place. And he was back for his last jump. And there was a crash in the bicycle race, taking a corner down at the corner of the track, and there was a big pile up. And all eyes went down to see that. And while that was happening, he ran in, stood 2 feet in front of the board and won the long jump.
There wasn't many today who could do that.
Well, it was quick thinking at his part, I think. You know, he just, he was so left, he just picked it up. And,
Did athletes of that particular time tend to be all-rounders rather than just, specialising in one particular area?
Well, I think Dennis was a specialist, all right. He was a one-event man. He won the 120 yards hurls, and that was his best event, but he could beat his others as well. Now, the next man, and it was Dr. O'Callaghan was saying to me this morning, probably the best runner Ireland ever produced was Jerry Guinea of Ruskey. And Jerry won quite an amazing array of championships and medals. I was fortunate enough, I had the privilege of seeing his medals just a week ago today, and he has actually an amazing collection. And I'm afraid I couldn't memorize them actually. He won his first Irish medal in Mallow in the 4 miles in 1913. He won an Irish medal in the 4 miles in 1915. He won another Irish medal in the 3 miles in 1917. He won an Irish medal in the marathon from Navan to Dublin in 1924. As you can see there now, the warriors came in, and here there was a blank period. As well as winning the Irish medal from Navan to Dublin in 1924, he also got second in the Talton Games of that year. And he was beaten by a fellow by the name of D. Quinn of Scotland. And informed sources and reliable sources say that Quinn was picked up on the road and taken the greater part of the journey in the car, and in fact he had never been beaten. And there was a fellow by the name of Riley Tutt from Ireland. Now, he continued and competed again in the Talton Games in 1928. And he won the Talton Games in 1928 and again beat Riley, and Quinn wasn't happy on the day. So as well as that, he won cross-country medals with Cork in 1914, 1958 and 1924. And he was picked on an international team to compete abroad, and I saw the jersey that he got on that occasion. I happened to see it last week, as I said, and that is a tribute to any Castlemagnum man to be picked in a national team. And in 1928, he was aged 38. He was born in 1890. And as Dr. O'Callaghan remarked to me this morning, he was, arguably, he said, the best Irish runner that ever put on a pair of shoes.
And that, coming from a man like Dr. Pat O'Callaghan, is some tribute, isn't it?
It is a tribute, for he would be a judge of a good man. And any time I ever spoke to Dr. O'Callaghan privately, or anything he ever spoke in public, when we brought Dr. O'Callaghan and Bob Tisdall to Malin had a function for him in 78 to celebrate his 50th win in the Hammer in Amsterdam. He spoke for at least 20 minutes on Jerry Guinea. He said he was his idol and his inspiration.
Did he inspire any more Castlemagnum people to follow in his footsteps?
I would say he did, yes. Personally, I often see Jerry Guinea running. Jerry ran well into the 30s. As a matter of fact, he has a clock that he won in a road race to Green Hall. And I saw another clock that he won in a road race from Belbriggan to Dublin. But to give you an idea of how good he was, in 1933 he ran a road race from Mallow to Kanturk. And the handicap I was put in was 10 minutes. The field got 10 minutes from him, and he won it. He came home 1 minute after.
He still won, even though...
He still won, even though 10 minutes was taken off him.
And of course the thing we're inclined to forget is that the roads in those days would be nothing like what we have now.
No, they weren't tar roads then.
Tell me, when he stopped running in the, when you said the late 30s, who took up his mantle?
Well, as was another Guinea family that we can claim fell into his place. That would be the Guineas of Gortinard, Ted, Jack and Paddy. No, they were reasonably good men. They were good average men by any standards. They weren't in the class of Dr. O'Callaghan or Jerry Guinea, but they were quite good, yeah.
And you did a little high jumping yourself. How did you become involved?
Well, I suppose the winning of Olympic medals by Dr. O'Callaghan, and that inspired us in some way or another, and hearing of Jerry Guinea and other people. But the man that was responsible for starting me was, I have no hesitation in saying, was Tom Barry. He came to the school and got us running and jumping in school, and he was the man that was responsible for starting us.
Was there any sports meeting in Castlemagner? I can remember going to sports in Castlemagner in a field there below the church. How long ago, I don't know. Was there a regular sports meeting in Castlemagner at one stage?
Well, the first sports meeting I remember in Castlemagner was a sports meeting in Jackie Donahoe's field, below the house. And I was going to school at the time. So I can say that the Donahoes, Jack and Eddie and Father Lawrence were had created an athletic revival in the end of the 30s.
And I suppose the question I'm always asking, anyone around today that's likely to take up the mantle of the people of the past and make a name for themselves?
Well, yes, we have got a man today who has another Irish medal, mind you, and that is Denjo Callahan. Denjo won an Irish medal quite recently with Cork. He competed in Armagh just about a month or 6 weeks ago, and he is a grandson of Billy Alex's. And Denjo, I'm very proud to say, brought home an Irish medal from Armagh just only a matter of a couple of months ago.
Stop. Conor Sullivan, Jerry Streetman, Jack O'Connell, and Dinny Ryan. Thank you all very much. Eileen Tobin on the organ, introducing this programme coming to you once again from the Castle Bar in Castlemagner. And while I was talking to members of the GAA a little earlier on there, I did mention Camogie in Castlemagner, and of course 1985 was perhaps one of the most successful years in Castlemagner Camogie Club in recent times anyway. I have two members of the club here at the moment, Margaret O'Leary and Liz Toomey. Margaret, 1985, very successful year?
That's right, Pat. It was the most successful year for us because we won the County Junior B Championship for the first time. And so we brought the championship back to Castlemagner after a lapse of 33 years.
I thought, now mind you, the ladies would get a better cheer than that. Maybe we'll try. When was the club reorganised?
Well, we registered in 1978 and we got reorganised in 1979. We started playing in 1979 and we have been fairly active right up to last year, of course our best year so far. In 1980 we got to the final of the league, all right, and we were unfortunate to be defeated by Blackrock, I think. And this year, of course, was our most successful year to date.
And your own involvement in it?
Well, I'm secretary for the last couple of years, and that's my involvement, all the paperwork.
Very important to get all that right, is it? Make sure they're all legal.
It is, of course, yeah, there's quite a lot of paperwork involved, and it's quite enjoyable. I got great help from all the officers and the players and everything, so.
Liz Toomey, you're involved in the club administration as well, are you?
I'm playing Pat, you know, I play centre back and been playing various positions for the team, the club, you know. And it was a tremendous year for us, there's no doubt about it. Like, you know, we put in a show of work into it. And probably the man most responsible for bringing the title here to Castlemagner in '85 was Neely Welsh, like, you know, because he really trained us. And he gave us great commitment, and as well as that, he gave us a self-belief, you know, that was non-existent probably in the club before that, you know. And his confidence rubbed off in us, you know, and at the end, we came to play Corsi Rovers there, probably better known from both, you know, Ballinspittle, like, people were saying that we weren't going to move them, but we had other ideas, you know.
The statues in Castlemagner mightn't move the Camogie players, did they?
Well, there certainly was a lot of statues moving here in one November night outside here. There's a tremendous bonfire. People are marvellous. The Tobin family are here, and there was marvellous music and song, and you know, people are really thrilled. And we were delighted as members of the club to bring so much joy to the people, to the parish. And people who got tremendous joy out of it were the people who brought previous county titles, you know, to the parish, and they got tremendous joy over the victory. There's no doubt about that.
Now, I know that winning is lovely and the celebrations are great and everything, but can you go back to when the season started and the training started and the hard work and all the rest of it? When did the Camogie season start?
We started training back around April. We were doing about two nights a week, you know, maybe the Saturday and during the weekend. It's very difficult in the start because naturally enough when you start out first, you know, you'll be very totally unfit. And but you won't be long getting into shape under Neely's guidance, I can assure you. And I must say we're very thankful to John Sherlock and Timmy Barry for the use of their fields. You know, they were tremendous really, and there's no doubt about it, we wouldn't have got there without their support, you know.
Can you remember how many matches had you?
Well, offhand, no, I can't remember that, but probably the most significant match, and probably the match that probably gave us the most confidence in ourselves, was when we played the Bars above in Cork in their own grounds, you know. And for a country club to beat a city club at any stage is a tremendous, you know, it's tremendous really. So there was a couple of us coming home that night in the car and coming down there around Cork and coming out to Lockwood, so we swore to each other that come hell or high water, you know, we were going to win the county, we were going to bring it back here to Castle, you know. And then we played Sarsfields in Glentown, and probably individually they were probably more skillful side, you know. But there's tremendous unity in this group of people, you know, this group of players, and this, you know, we do anything for each other, and that was exemplified that day in Glentown. We tremendous support here from the parish too, you know. There's only about a point in it in the final 10 minutes, and indeed throughout the game, you know. But it's great to hear shouting from the sideline, and you know, we knew the parish were behind us and we weren't going to fail them that day, you know.
Would that bring out the little extra that's needed to win, it would?
Well, I suppose that particular day there was plenty of spice there, but anybody that wears the black and amber has a bit of spice, you know.
And no surrender. Finally, Margaret, looking forward to 1986. Where do you go from here?
Well, at the moment, Pat, we're heading for the All-Ireland. On the stage, you know, the CCD competitions. We have a ballot group, and they won the county, and they went from that to the Munster. And next Saturday they're competing in Dublin, and hopefully they might bring us back an All-Ireland title. So
the members of the ballot group are, can you remember?
I can, yeah. Marie Toomey, who's played here tonight, and Geraldine Hinchin, Regina Hinchin, Rose McCarthy, Dennis Welsh and myself.
I wonder, is an All-Ireland for Castlemagner fairly well assured in Saturday night? Liz and Margaret, thank you very much. But you know, I must go back a little bit because Camogie was going in Castlemagner, I suppose, before Liz and Margaret saw the light of day or saw much of it anyway. And that's not to say that the two ladies I'm going to talk to now are all that terribly old. Maureen Hallinan and May Hannigan, May Ryan. When did you become involved in Camogie and Castlemagner?
Well, we started here in 1951, and then we went on to win the county in 52, and we went into the final again in 53, and were beaten by the same people that we beat in the first year.
So they had their revenge?
And I think we were involved in the final again in 55, the county final, you know. So we won several North Cork finals. We had our own North Cork board at that stage, from 52 to 56, I suppose.
Was there great satisfaction sitting on the sideline or standing on the sideline this year and watching the cup come back?
There was no sitting, we were lippy around the place. Taken off in split seconds. And Marion, I think, was the most fun to get.
Did you become very excited, Marion?
I didn't need that. It was great. They were really after 33 years. It was wonderful for the parish and everything.
Now, you were involved yourself during some of the leaner years, were you?
I was indeed. We grouped in 1969, so 69 to 1970. We had plenty of talent and plenty of players, but unfortunately we didn't continue and keep to it. And unfortunately, we won no medals. The only medals I got were my ankles and so forth. So I have nothing to show for my years in the Camogie. But it's a great outlet for rural parishes, and especially we had at that particular stage we had no community hall or anything. It was the only thing that was keeping the people together. And I suppose
somewhere to go on a Sunday.
There was somewhere to go on a Sunday.
Now you hear a lot of talks nowadays about keep fit classes and diets to keep down the weight and all the rest of it. If people were involved in things like Camogie, would they need any of those?
No, not a bit of those, no. If you kept on to your training, maybe no fear, you would have to go to any fit classes.
So Castlemagner would be a bad place to start to keep fit classes for the ladies at the moment?
I think that was a great record of Camogie Castlemagner since the 40s, I'd say. The first record was in 40, and they had a grey and green uniform made by Kathleen Cronin in Cessidon. Everybody knows Kathleen Cronin now. She, made clothes for everybody around here anyway. And they played teams from Glenwood, from Banshee, Lumberstown. And in about 1943, they had a lovely team going. And to make expenses, they used to run dances in the hall for a shilling, getting, and music by Pat O'Callaghan. And one night, the dances were a great success. But one night, the taxman called, and he said they weren't paying enough tax. And they were taken to court and fined £15. They couldn't pay it. They sold the uniforms to pay the expenses of the court. And that was the end of it then. But, they had a great team after that. There were a lot of local girls and a lot of tailors and a couple of tailors and a couple of Connells and Margaret O'Donoghue, Lil Mackesy and Irene Buckley and Nellie Callan of Argyll, and Lil Riley from Green Hall, and a few more like that, all locals really.
And I've had the taxman being blamed for many things over the years, but it's the first time I've ever had them being blamed for putting a Camogie club out of action. Yeah. Do you think the skill that you saw when Castlemagner won this year, how would it compare, the skill and the fitness and the dedication to your team?
Well, actually, I thought they were marvellous this year now. They had the material all the time, but they just got it right this year, They got it together. And they were terrific. I'm sure they were better than us anyhow.
How do you think Maureen did compare with the time with your teams?
Well, of course, they had their cup and their medals for eternity now, but we hadn't anything after our years. But you just go through a lean period, and once you come out, then come back. That's the main thing, and keep going. It's great, really.
Yeah, of course, that's something that people don't realise, that if the people didn't keep it going through the lean years, there'd be nothing there for the glory years.
People, that don't get any recognition, they are forgotten, but when the people get their names on the cup, there's always somebody to keep things going.
I'll go back then to Margaret for the last word. Margaret, if there was someone around the outskirts of Castlemagner and they said, look, we've no Camogie club in our parish, but we'd like to join, could they cross the boundaries or would they be welcome?
Oh, sure, of course, everybody would be welcome. One thing, Pat, before we finish that shouldn't be forgotten, is that our captain this year, Mary Hennigan, she's May's daughter, and May was the captain of the last winning team in 52.
Yeah. And I thought I could add to that Maya is the daughter of Denny Ryan, the man who has kept the GEA going. Ladies and gentlemen, the ladies of Castle Magna Camogie Club. Next presentation. Oh, good.
Some folks who say that I'm a dreamer, but I've no doubt there's truth in what they say. For though a body's bound to be a dreamer, when all the things he loves are far away, and precious things are dreams until an exile, they take him o'er the land across the sea, especially when it happens he's at exile from the dear lovely Isle of Innisfree. And when the moonbeam peeps across the rooftops of this great city, wondrous though it be, I scarcely feel its wonder or its laughter. I'm once again back home in Innisfree. I've wandered o'er green hills through dreamy valleys, and find the peace no other land could know. I hear the birds make music fit for angels, and watch the rivers laughing as they flow. But dreams don't last, though dreams are not forgotten, and soon I'm back to stern reality. For though they pave the footways here with gold dust, I still would choose the Isle of Innisfree.
Oh, when we were talking there about GA hurling and football, one of the places, of course, that would come to mind would be Knockdonos. I believe some footballers came from up there. But even before they came, it was a historical area. And I've got Teddy Crowley here with me. The Battle of Knockdonos, Teddy, is one of the famous ones, isn't it?
It is. The Battle of Knockdonos was in 1647, 13th November, on a Saturday. And on that day, the course of Irish history was changed. The old chieftains of Ireland rallied at that time during the General Rebellion, 1641 to 47. That was the whole period ended up in Knockdonos in 47. A very bloody battle. About 4,500 people died there.
Now, just to put it in perspective, where exactly is Knockdonos?
It is about a mile and a half from Castlemagner, on the northern side of the parish, between Castlemagner and Kanturk, near Asolis house.
Yeah. I was going to say, kind of a queer spot for a battle. Why did they all end up there? Have you any idea?
The nature of the ground decided the battle. The Irish troops were on the high ground, and the English were on the low ground, and the Irish troops did well at the start of the battle, and then they fell to looting the enemy wagons and things, and for that reason they were beaten, and a very large number of men died there.
Battles at that particular stage in history, would they be over one day or a number of days or what?
The battle was decided in the one day, but on the following day a lot of stragglers were killed. Yeah. On the third day then there was a storm, bad weather, and I suppose the storm saved a lot of lives.
It's fairly well documented, is it?
It's not a well-known battle because it was part of a general rebellion, and there were no major decisions, and it was just before Cromwell came to Ireland. And of course Cromwell was so well known, and his campaign throughout Ireland so well known that he took the spotlight off and on us.
Yeah. Now I wonder whether I've got the right one or not. Was there a famous sword captured there?
There was. Sir Alexander MacDonald, to give him his full title, was on the Irish side. He was a Scotsman, and he had some Scotsmen with him. They were called red shanks because they wore short kilts and their legs were red, and they were barefooted, of course. But he had a famous sword. It was kept in Lougheart Castle, which was referred to earlier, until fairly recent times. I think now I think it's in Dublin Castle. It was a sword considered too heavy for one man to lift, and it had a little iron ball embedded in the back of it that ran forward as the sword was struck down. A very famous sword, and I believe it's still in Dublin, at Dublin Castle.
Isn't it a pity, in a way, that all these things seem to find their way to Dublin and stick there?
They do, and get lost there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was during, I think it was during the Civil War in Ireland, when arms were being rounded up. The sword was collected from Lougheart Castle and taken to Dublin.
Well, mind you, I'd have thought that at that stage there wasn't too many of them who could have used it.
No.
Is there an interest among local historians in that in Knocknanuss?
Oh, there is, and the army historians often call to the area and give lectures at Knocknanuss and describe the battle as it happened.
For kind of strategic learning, would it be?
Yes, exactly. The Irish had the high ground, and they had the services of a fairly good soldier, experienced soldier, but their general was a bad one, General Taff. The English general was Lord Inchiquin, and but the Irish had the advantage of the good ground as the battle began, and they might have won the battle, but for Lord General Taff, who retreated when the first volley was fired at him, and that ended the Irish chieftain's power in Ireland.
Tell me, a lot of people would have died. What would they have done with him?
The Sir Alexander MacDonald was buried in Ramahar, in the parish, for 3 days, and afterwards his body was taken to Clonmeen and buried there. The bones of the others, a lot of them were buried, they were grouped in the area, and they were buried, but their bones were subsequently uncovered, and they were all moved to, they were carried to Buttevant, to the Franciscan Friary in Buttevant, and buried there. And, but there are still bits and pieces being turned up in the area, belong to the battle, you know, bits of metal and coins and things like that still being, and there are still people searching there with these metal detectors for objects left over.
And occasionally something will turn up, will it?
Occasionally things do turn up.
I'd say when someone is a bit ploughing there now.
Usually things, fellas lose banners and things, that's the thing that turns up now, because the objects after the battle must be fairly deteriorated by now, fairly far gone.
What would they have been fighting with? Swords?
They had muskets, but usually they fired just one shot with a musket and then took out the sword, and they had pikes as well. But swords was the main instrument in the battle.
Wasn't it a reasonable... Yeah, sorry, go on.
It was a very bloody affair. It was, I think, the bloodiest battle in Irish history. 4,500 men died.
So, not alone have Castlemagner good footballers, and Camogie players have the bloodiest battle in Ireland.
Yeah, it was the central stage of Irish politics for a short time. And the English rule, in a sense, was established there in 1647. Shortly afterwards, 1649, Cromwell came to Ireland, and Eventually, Irish rule was finished, as you know, at the Battle of the Boyne in 1690, and you had the Act of Union after that. And it was the end of the old Catholic Irish power in Ireland.
Paddy Crowley, thank you very much indeed. Upper Castle in the parish of Castlemagner. We've also got a castle called Castlemagner Castle, and to tell me a little bit about that, I've got Carmel Barry.
Right. Well, Castlemagner parish derives its name from the Magner family, a Norman English family that were granted lands by James I about 1430 AD. The Magners first settled around Fermoy in a place called Kilmagner and then moved up the Blackwater to Castlemagner. The Magners then built a fortified castle here in Castlemagner. This castle was built on a high rock over the Caitra River. The castle, it is said, is about 54 foot high, flanked by a single tower and a residence. The nearest castle to Castlemagner was Lowhurt Castle, which was referred to there earlier, and that is about a mile southeastwards, so that signal lights on the two could easily be seen and messages passed to and fro. Though, as I said there, the Magners had inherited their lands from the Crown, they acted, or at least appeared to act, in accordance with their Irish tradition. During the rebellion of 1641, Richard Magner was an agent for the Irish inhabitants of Duhallow. Cromwell, of course, was at this stage on his rampage through the country, so Richard Magner went to visit him in Clonmel. Magner was thinking that this might serve his own interests. However, Cromwell had known him to be active in the rebellion and to be a troublesome man. So when Magner offered his services, Cromwell dispatched him with a letter to the Governor of Cork, who at that time was Colonel Thayer, in which was written a simple message: execute the bearer. Magner was suspicious about this letter, and no sooner was he outside Clonmel than he decided to open the letter. And having read its contents, he just sealed it again, and on his way home called at the castle in Mallow. And there he told the Cromwellian officer in charge, who was Breckinridge, that Cromwell had ordered him to take the letter to Cork. When the governor in Cork read the letter, he was amazed, as he knew this man to be a loyal subject of the Crown, and he sent a dispatch to Cromwell for further instructions. And now it had been cheated, Cromwell sent orders to release the officer and to get Magner immediately. But of course Magner was too cute for him, and he had already escaped to France at this stage. There's an old story which says there was a bad grievance between Magner and Cromwell. The story is told that they were once walking together through the graveyard in Castlemagner, and Cromwell said to Magner, "Who's buried here?" And Magner replied, "My father, my grandfather, and my great-granduncles." And Cromwell said, "Gosh, they must have been great men in their day. It's strange that I can walk over them now." Magner was furious, and he quickly replied, "It is easy for living dogs to walk over dead lions." After that then, Magners lost the lands of Castlemagner, and they were given to Breckinridge. That was in 1654, from Breckinridge to Armstrong, a man from Bruff in County Limerick. In 1750, Bastable inherited the castle, and it would pass from him in 1870 to the Beecher family. In 1923, a land act, the lands were divided among tenants, with the Beecher family retaining the hunting and shooting rights of the 736 acres. In the last 150 years, families from Kerry and Limerick bought and lived in the castle. The last people to live in the castle were the O'Sullivans, and this was lived in up till about 12 years ago. In recent years, two families of Magners from different parts of the United States have been around inquiring about the castle, and they both claim that their ancestors have come from Castlemagner, and they've been taking photographs and hope to get their hands on it someday.
Are the Americans terribly interested in things like that? They are?
Oh, they're very interested in it. They really go to Fair Browns. One
man, he's a professor, and he actually wrote a booklet on the name Magner and just about its roots and all about Castle Magner Castle, which is of course in ruins now, but they still seem to think it's a great place. It's where their ancestors came from.
Lovely. Camel Barry, thank you very much indeed. Now, when I mentioned there earlier on with the opening of the community centre that a number of organisations did spring up around the parish, and one of those is concerned with first aid. And Margaret Milan has joined me here to tell me a little bit about first aid in Castlemagner. Margaret?
That's correct, yes. We have first aid classes here during the winter months on a Tuesday night. Now, people are becoming more aware of the importance of knowing a little bit about first aid and how to treat casualties in the event of an accident, because we all know there are so many accidents nowadays in the home. You know, children are particularly involved and maybe the elderly. And then you have the accidents in the road, accidents on the farm, and accidents in the place of work. And I feel that if people knew a little bit more about how to deal with these accidents when they happen, a lot of lives could be saved. Because sometimes just knowing what not to do could be as important as knowing what to do.
Who's giving the first aid classes?
Well, I'm giving them from civil defence, and they're completely free, and we'd like to see more people. We have a nice class, in fact, but we'd like to see more people from the parish coming. There must be lots of young mothers who have had incidents in the home when now, you know, children, how they start choking or they get burned or take poisons or something. And really there is a lot that can be done, because sometimes, as I said, people tend to do the incorrect thing and make the injury much worse. I sometimes think even maybe members of other organisations like the GEA could, you know, if they knew what to do on the field, it would be very helpful. And, you know, there are so many things like people get heart attacks and drowning, dealing with electricity, all these things, you have accidents. And knowing just basic first aid like can save lives, and there's no doubt about that. Gay Byrne did a thing on the late there about, I think it was last year, and showed what to do in the case of choking. And there were letters coming into him, and they're still coming in, saying how many lives have been saved. You know, somebody chokes on a piece of meat, and there's a very simple thing that can be done, and that we do all aspects of first aid, in fact. And just there, about a fortnight ago, the Castlemagner class won the question time in the North Cork final, and it was a great achievement. And at the moment now we're getting ready for county competitions, which will be held here in Castlemagner on the 6th of April. And anybody who would be interested would be welcome to come along and look at the competitions, and you know, they might learn something. And maybe we start the year usually September, October, and we keep until maybe the end of April we finish up. So that even if people didn't join up now, if they think about it for next year, and I think they would find that at the end of the year they could have a lot of information that would be very helpful to them.
It just struck me now, you know, a simple thing like spilling a cup of boiling water over yourself. What should you do?
Well, if the skin isn't broken, the first thing is to put it into cold water to cool it down. That would be, you know, under the tap, or just immerse it in cold water. And apparently this was the thing to do years ago, and then it went out of date, but now it's the correct thing. That's a simple, like more a minor kind of a scald, that would be the thing to do. Obviously, if it was a big area that was damaged, it mightn't be right, because the shock, you know, cold water you could imagine if it's a big area, but a simple scald, cold water would be the first thing to do.
But I was always told you shouldn't wait a burden. Wasn't that part of the advice?
That was the thing, maybe. You see, as I said, you know, things change a little bit. And, you know, up to a few years ago, that was it. But now this is the thing. Now, as I said, if the skin was gone and if it was very severe, you wouldn't. But just for, you know, as you say, the cup of boiling water, to put it into the cold water, it is the correct thing to do now, and it cools it down, and you find that the skin won't feel on that much.
I've learned something tonight. Margaret, you mentioned there that there was sport competitions on in Castlemagner, and if people were interested, they could come along and look. Will you give us the date, the time, and the place again?
Oh yes, that's on the 6th of April here in Castlemagner. I think they probably start about 2 o'clock, and we have an oral part of the competition which people wouldn't see, but there'll be a floor competition where you have 6 casualties on the floor with different injuries, and the idea is that you have maybe 3 or 4 teams competing. They wouldn't know the injuries going in. They're supposed to diagnose, find out. It's obviously some kind of an accident will be set up, and then they find out what are the injuries and hopefully treat them correctly.
Lovely. Margaret Milan, thank you very much indeed.
The sun is sinking o'er the westward. The fleet is leaving Dingle shore. I watch the men row in the current as they mark the fishing grounds near Skelligmore. Oh, through the night men toil until the daybreak, while at home their wives and sweethearts kneel and pray that God may guard them and protect them and bring them safely back to Dingle Bay. I see the green isle of the Lynchar. I mind the caves around Loch Nane. The gun is swinging with abandon as they watch the silver store that comes their way. I also see a ship on the horizon. She is sailing to a country far away. On board their eggs are feeling lonely as they bid a fond farewell to Dingle Bay. Now years have passed since I came homeward, and time has made me old and grey. I sit and muse about my childhood and the happy hours I spent in Dingle Bay. I see again the green isle of the Lynchar, and the isle of Inishmore seems far away. I'm always dreaming of my childhood and the happy hours I spent in Dingle Bay. Happy hours I spent in Dingle Bay.
You've probably heard me over the last number of programmes mentioning the community centre in Castlemagner and the tremendous difference that it has made, not alone to the parish but the whole area. Indeed, you've probably heard me saying here on the programme over the years that there are occasionally, I think, games of cards on in the hall in Castlemagner. But to tell me how the whole thing got off the ground, where it went and where it now is, I've got the PRO of the committee, Andy Burke. Andy, where did it all start?
It started back in 1976, Pat, when in autumn 76, when Father Keneally was the then parish priest of the time, himself and the parish council, which was the only body elected at the time, they got together and they got the idea rolling, and they looked for a good spot, and I think they appealed for a spot at the time. This is my information, and the late Ed, I don't know who, the owner of this premises, his father, he came forward with the present site of the hall. Not alone did he come forward with it, but free gratis. So the site for the community centre was free of charge.
That was a great start, wasn't it?
Of course, there's an old saying, you know, anything that you get for nothing is of no use, but in this case it was the other way around.
having got the site in, which was basic, what happened?
They got planning permission then. In 77 that was granted, and the parish council with a lot of voluntary helpers cleared the site of that was there, and they came along then and they contracted the shell of the building, which meant the walls, the steel girders and the roof and so on, like maple floor to button concrete, and that was contracted by them. So from there on then that was, we're going back at the end of 78 now. So I say that possibly they were trying to fundraise then, and well, they had a lot of work put in, and like, it isn't because I was never a member of the parish council. All I would say is that they've done a damn good job of it. We were elected, they formed a committee then in 1979, and as Paddy mentioned there, starting off, I was elected in at that particular time. They couldn't get rid of me yet, but I suppose I'm near firing time, but however. And anyway, we started with our fundraising. We had a debt of, to be accurate, 19,000.
A lot of money?
A lot of money in those days, like when you wouldn't have it. And especially when the bank manager, like, he's very friendly, like when he's, well, when he's with you. But he mightn't be that friendly at all, like he's sitting with you.
How did you go about bringing down that debt?
Well, we started with charity walks, and what we found about the charity walks, even though they brought in money, the bank were running faster than we were walking. So the idea came up at a meeting. I think the credit here must go to Tom Griffin, the present chairman. He brought up the idea. Who put it rolling is another thing. The committee fully supported it, and that was an interest-free loan. And we went to every person or every household in the parish for that, and that actually took the bank off our back.
It made the bank manager happy. Now, Andy, you had the site, you had the centre, you had the building, you had the debt under control. What are you doing with it?
Well, we are plowing the money that we are making into the centre. Plus, we are also paying back so much a year. It's actually £2,400 a year, to be accurate, to the people that were so good to us at the time when we were in need. Rather than be paying so much in the bank, to the bank, yeah. We're doing that now.
Yeah, well, the money side of it seems to be fairly good. What about the use being made of the centre? Is it fairly well in use?
Well, I take the bookings for the hall here, and there's actually a problem in getting a night. It is swapping and changing. So, like, all I can say is the cooperation in the clubs, without their help and support, I'd find it very hard, because it is 7 nights a week in use.
Has it helped to bring the parish together?
Well, without it, I don't think you'd have a parish. Like, there's no two ways about it. Like, you just wouldn't have a parish.
And for the future, what do you see happening?
Well, you see, this was a start. So, all I can say is that to develop the centre from what it is, well, it might require more brains than the likes of India. So, like, I would look around and see the youth of today and hope that they would come up with better ideas than I could come up with, or my colleagues. Indeed, I will say this before passing. I've worked with a great team of colleagues from the very beginning. There is no point in saying it was one or two or three people show. It was a united effort all the way through.
Was it worth that?
When in
Maureen Hallinan and Anne Milan. Maureen, they tell me you're president, is that right?
That's right, sir.
I see you long in Castlemagner.
Well, we have it 13 years now. We formed in 1973. But I will hand you over to Anne O'Brien, who is up here for the ICA. But before I hand you over to Anne, I would sincerely like, on behalf of the ICA, to thank sincerely now Cork Community Radio for all their help to us in the past few months. You have been really terrific, especially coming out to our Christmas party. It really made it a memorable day for us, and for that we are indeed very grateful.
Liam Kelleher didn't disgrace himself, did he?
He was only marvellous. We've all the best to say. He's a great man, really.
And what have you been doing?
Well, Castlemagner ICA was founded by Mrs. Hurley, the late Mrs. Hurley, in 1973. But sadly, we lost Mrs. Hurley after 2 years, which was a great pity because she was an excellent craftswoman. And the ICA's first meeting was held in the small house just above the hall. And it was there we met for a couple of years until the late Jackie Welsh, the headmaster of Ballyhass, kindly allowed us to use his classroom, which we used until the opening of the community centre, thanks to Andy Burke and Co., which was a wonderful asset to us as we host many of the Cork Federation competitions there. And we run functions to make a few bob, of course, such as last night. Now we had a waltzing competition, a quiz and a song contest. And we had a full hall, which was most enjoyable, and ladies from ICA guilds as far away as Charleville supported us. We support a lot of charities through the years, of which I'd say a lot of people don't know what we do with our few pound. We support the guide dogs and Heart, Vincent de Paul, the handicapped, and of course we have our retired people's Christmas party every year. We meet most Monday nights, and we do a variation of classes such as patchwork, art, cookery, gardening, set dancing, public speaking, and drama. And I'm sure I have left out some. I'd say we seem to be in that hall all the time. At the moment we have a membership of 42, and we started with 11 in that small house. And we're so glad to see so many young ladies join, of course. And I must give a plug to our president, Maureen Hallinan, and Kathleen Donovan, our secretary, and Helen Taylor, who wasn't able to come here tonight. They don't spare themselves. They're forever trying to think of things to keep us on the move.
Now, making the news there over the past couple of weeks is the fact that women can't be full members of golf clubs. Have you ever thought of letting the men into the ICA?
Well, you know, Pat, I was often thinking that could be great, all right, if there was some organisation for the men, something similar to the ICA, you know?
But why not bring them into the one organisation?
Well, our headquarters don't allow men, Green On, they don't allow men in our functions at all, not even to our socials. Why, I don't know.
And what happened the other night now when you did the waltzing competition?
All ladies.
And did that cause any problems?
Not a problem. We're well able to look after ourselves.
And take the man's part as well as the ladies?
Sure.
Anyone listening, you know, a number of, particularly the younger people might be inclined to say, no, the ICA, that's for, I was going to say middle age, you know, settled down people who haven't a whole lot more to do with a whole lot more interest. Why would you say that they should come? I mean, that isn't true, first of all, is it?
Oh, no, Pat, it isn't. We have ladies in our ICA as young as 19, and we don't class ourselves as old. But we would welcome all newly married ladies in the parish to join, because when I came to Castlemagner myself in the start, I didn't know a single soul until I joined the ICA. And I think it's a wonderful way for the young girls to meet and to learn a little bit from the older crowd on cookery and sewing and those kind of things.
Maureen, as president, you were giving me a dirty look there when I seemed to be implying that the ICA ladies have passed it.
No, I think in general, the impression has gone out, like lots of times, that the Irish Countrymen's Association is kind of static. But in reality, I think we're one of the foremost organisations in any parish. And the fact is, I think that we haven't kind of blown our trumpet as such. We have done things quietly and haven't had much publicity. But really, it is an organisation for every lady, no matter what age they are. We incorporate both ages, and it's marvellous to have a blend of youth and, older people. But we have functions for all types of age groups, and really it is the only way to get to be known in the parish when you come to it. And really, other than that, as Anne had said, I myself wouldn't have known anybody in Castlemagner if I had joined the ICA. So for that, I'm terribly grateful.
Final question then to finish up with, do you have your meetings on a regular night of the month so that people listening might want to come along? Is it a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
That's right. In fact, we hold monthly meetings on the first Monday night of every month. And I would like, if any ladies out there listening, they would be more than welcome to join our ICA guild. We meet on every Monday night at every first Monday night at 8:30. That's our meeting. And we have a committee meeting preceding that at 7:30. And then for the other 3 Monday nights of the month, we have different classes to cater for all the age groups. So anybody listening, you're more than welcome to come to our guild in Castlemagner, and we really enjoy it. We have a social half hour every night, and we have our tea, and it is really marvellous.
The ladies of the Castlemagner ICA. That might be the paper, yeah.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, during that interview, there was far too much noise. There's a small doubt whether that interview can go through or not, and it's a pity. We've been appealing all night for quiet, and it's a pity at this hour tonight that we'll have to go over an interview the second time. I've been saying all night that we're making noise at the wrong time. So from now on, while the interviews are going on, please give the very best of all to us. Thank you very much.
Who's going to do the most talking now? And moving on quickly to another organisation here representing the Pioneer Turtle Abstinence Association, I've got Kathleen Donovan, Hannah Brennan and Andy Burke. Andy, of course, we were talking to a few minutes ago about the community centre. Hannah, Pioneers in Castlemagner, did you restart a while back?
Well, we did. It was founded first in August 1971, and then it in 69, sorry, and it lapsed in 71, and it was reaffiliated in 1984, and it's going strong since. And we have 30 probationers between the ages of 14 and 16 years. There's juveniles in the school then, and there are enrollments every year in 5th and 6th classes, and there is great cooperation altogether from the parents, and then we hold out competitions, for the national school each year, and we enter all the Riadori school, it's like score competitions, and this year we have a question time team now each year, but this year it's on the 28th of February in Tullereese. Under 18 and over 18 years teams take part, and we had one little girl in the parish this year, Adil Flood, and she went as far as the Munster semi-final in disco dancing, and we will be making a presentation to her in the hall on Sunday next, the 2nd of March, and we have a very active centre actually, and new members are always welcome, of course, and the younger the better. And
do you find that things like Riadori on top of the schools and that, does it give the young people a great interest, something or the other?
Well, it does really. If we could get more young people to join, we'd be very, very pleased indeed. And indeed, some of the old people, seeing that a certain sergeant didn't come tonight, I'd like to convert a few more myself, and that's about it,
Kathleen, do you think young people joining in school, is it a bit young to catch them? They really don't know what they're doing?
I don't think so, Pat. I think it's good to young people today, Pat, are very well versed in an awful lot of, activities. And I think at the age of 12 years, they're very, very capable of knowing exactly what they're about to do. And we don't rush them, Pat. We give them plenty of time to think it all out. We never do anything in haste in the Castlemagnum Pioneers, Pat.
You don't think 12 are a commitment for life? You know, it's very young to be making up your mind one way or the other.
Well, actually, Pat, at 12, you don't make a commitment for life. You only make it, you know, to 14, and then you go on to the 16. And after you've reached the age of 16, it's from there on you make your lifetime commitment, Pat.
The number of young people, would you be getting a fair percentage of the young people in the area, or a small percentage?
We have a tremendous youth in Castlemagnum, Pat. I have great confidence, and then they are just marvellous. And, you know, we had a mass now recently down in the church, and the teenagers took over the ceremonies there mostly, and they were just fantastic, Pat. Great credit. Even the many people were very, very impressed with their performance.
Yeah, of course we hear about the bad people. You don't hear at all about the good people, I suppose.
I fully believe we have tremendous youth in Castlemagnum, as I repeat, and they are marvellous. If you ask them to do anything, they're more than willing to help you at any time.
I'll move on to Andy. Andy, when did you join?
Well, I joined 26 years ago, Pat.
Have you found it to be a big disadvantage?
No, I never missed anything. I think anyhow. But then some people think they do miss something. But I done a bit of counting there tonight before this interview, and there happened to be 25 oranges on the counter. So, like, if people understood what percentage the publican has out of the pint and the percentage that he has out in the middle, he has far more out of the middle than out of the pint.
The next thing, Andy, will be tell us that the publicans are encouraging people to join the Pioneers.
Well, I think there are a couple of things I'd like to make known there, is that there are people like Frank Stapleton, or I don't like, but I like Frank talk, like, because you come out from Cork and you'll find out that he is, his poster is up with a pint in his hand. I think this is bad moral support and bad, it's a bad education for the youth of today. But when you see Barry McGuigan, a man that has brought fame to so many, working in the other line, I think he deserves credit, and far more credit than is being given to him. So, like, there are a couple of things now, like,
I suppose you'd be hoping that one would balance out the other. Finally, as I've done with so many organisations up to now, people who would want to join, have you got a regular date, time and place?
Oh yes, we're very regular within the Pioneer movement.
Will you tell us what the date, the time and the place are, or is it a secret?
No. If you want to join the Pioneers, every first Friday of the month, go into the sacristy. Any youth will be met by an officer of the Pioneers, and they will enroll them. That's the other. Now, I just forgot one thing when I was speaking about the community centre there a while ago, and it's something that isn't publicly known yet. We were half afraid until a couple of days ago, actually, and Maureen Potter is coming to Castlemagnum. Now, the thing is, the hall committee are actually, I'm sorry about bringing it in at this point now, but I'm stuck in so many things, that Maureen Potter and Hugh Leonard and the full cast are coming the 19th of April to Castlemagnum Hall outside there. And now, if people are interested, there will be tickets on sale beforehand. We expect that the crowd will be outside the door. So, like, I'd imagine that will be the first person that will come in and pay for the ticket that will actually go.
And you're expecting a very big night, are you?
Absolutely, because just one phone call to me, like, asked me for 15 tickets regardless of price. And like another phone call said 5, and regardless of price. Now, I don't know what the price is. That's a matter for the hall committee to sort out.
Lovely. Thank you all very much indeed. What's the tender?
My young love said to me, my mother won't mind, and my father won't fly tears for your lack of kind. She went away from me, and this she did say, it will not be long, love, till next market day. She slipped away from me, and she moved through the fair. So fondly I watched her move here and move there. At last she went homeward with one star awake, as the swan in the evening moved over the lake. Last night she came to me, she came softly in, so softly she came that her feet made no din. She laid her hand on me, and this she did say, it will not be long, love, till our wedding day. That's it.
I suppose one of the oldest pack of hunting hounds in the country are the Dashing Duhallas, or so I've been led to believe, anyhow, from what I hear. I've been joined by two gentlemen who probably know an awful lot, if not probably about it. They do know an awful lot more about hunting and the Duhalla hounds than I'm ever likely to know. Dan Coleman and Mick Falvey. Dan, am I right in saying they're the oldest pack of hounds in the country?
Yes, founded in 1745, and it's documented that Sir Henry Rickson Beecher, who has been mentioned here before tonight, founded these hounds in 1745, and we're fortunate they've kept going for 240 years, so they're still going.
What's the support for hunting today?
I think better than ever. We're fortunate that in Castlemagner we have some of the most, it's the most sporting area for hunting that is in the Duhada country. And
now, yeah, just to break in on there, a lot of people looking at on hunting, you know, for sport, but there's an industry at the back of it, the horse industry, is there?
yes, there is. Hunting and pointing and show jumping are all incorporated in the same thing. Most horses that, every horse that points must have a hunter certificate, and he must hunt to be eligible for a point, hunter chaser, and most of our show jumpers have hunted, and our event horses and 3-day event horses all have hunted, and it's a great education for our young horses, and it's a good industry, and it's a second industry for dairy farmers who keep a broodmare and breed horses, and it's a hobby and it's a business, but it's kind of a disease with people who like greyhounds and horses. They run hand in hand. If you love the game, you love it, and you do it whether you make money or whether you lose money.
With all the noise now about the super levy and cutbacks here, there and everywhere, is it feasible for farmers who would say have a slight interest in horses to keep a broodmare or two, or would they be very awkward in a modern farming setup?
I shouldn't think so. There isn't any levy or super levy on horses. If you produce a good horse, you can sell him. And our horses are famous all over the world. I think we're the only, it's one of the things we can do in Ireland. We can produce the best horses in the world. There's no doubt about that. We can produce the best jockeys and the best riders in the world. We've got the likes of Pat Edry, who is a Duhallow man, and we have Vincent O'Brien, who is another Duhallow man, who is undoubtedly one of the best trainers in the world, I think. He is known all over the world as being one of the top trainers, as the top trainer. And in the national hunt world, we have John Joe O'Neill from Castletownroach, another Duhallow man who came to hunt. His first few days that he ever rode a pony was with the Duhallow hounds, as well as Vincent O'Brien. We had another lad, Brendan Paul, who was with us about 10 years ago, just a kid riding a pony, falling off every second day, and now he's one of the top young jockeys in England.
So there's more to a pack of hounds than hunting the fox?
Oh yes, yes.
How scarce are good horses today?
Well, top in anything is always scarce. The best is always difficult to find. But we're fortunate in Ireland that we have produced the top flat horses in the world, some of the top steeplechasers, some of the top show jumpers, and our top hunters. Our hunters are famous all over the world. If you have an Irish hunter, you have something that is a horse with brains. Animals are not supposed to have brains, but our Irish hunters are supposed to have brains more than the Germans are famous for their jumpers, but our Irish horses have intelligence and stamina that any other nation in the world can't produce these type of horses.
I was thinking there, maybe when they were giving out the brains, they gave it to the horses instead of the people. Mick, how long have you been with the Duhallows?
40 years now.
So in actual fact, you were hunting when Dan Coleman wasn't around at all?
I carried him around. Right then.
You must have seen an awful lot of the country in that length of time, a lot of horses and a lot of people.
But one of them actually. But the trends have changed actually, you know, like I mean, in my time you'd see very little wire. Whereas then jumps it every day, you know, like, you know, but we don't put in that time, like, you know, because as you know yourself, the country was open. I'm talking about 40 years ago, like, you know, with a changed system of farming, you know, and everything, like, you know. In fairness to the farmers, like, who they love the hunting to go on all the time. Without the farmers, you can't continue.
I was just going to ask, you know, what reaction do you get from farmers galloping through maybe a reasonably good field of grass?
I've been up myself now, like, actually. I stand now because, I mean, I don't anymore. I don't ride horses anymore, like, but I'm following these guys on.
Dan, what would your reaction be?
In fairness, they're very good. Tops and tops.
Well, I think the farmers in Duhallow and the farmers in Ireland are the most sporting people that anyone could wish to find anywhere in the world. If you go to a football match, you have a farmer. It's been mentioned here tonight that they thank people for giving their field, which was just a small area of land. But we as hunting people have got to thank the farmers of Duhallow and the farmers of Ireland who allow us to hunt over all their land. And we really appreciate that, because to me it's the most sporting gesture that they can do to allow us to ride over their land. And to me, you know, I've dreamed about hunting all my life. It's more than a sport to me. It's a religion. It's something that I go to bed at night thinking about, and I wake up in the morning thinking about it again. And without the cooperation and the goodwill of the farmers of Duhallow, I could never do what I'm dreaming that as a child that I can do now.
Tell me, foxes, are they very plentiful? And do you ever catch and kill one?
Foxes are, thank God, plentiful this season. They have been scarce for a number of seasons. But we hunt a fox for the fun of it. We find a fox in a cover, and he is a very clever animal, and he will run, and he's at least 2 or 3 or 4 fields in front of a pack of hounds all the time. He is running for fun. We are chasing him for fun. If we have a good fox or any fox, we do not wish to kill him because we like to have him for another day.
You'd go along with that, obviously, Mickey? So killing a fox would obviously be not all that happens?
Not that much. Like, actually, in the beginning of the season, like, it's very important, like, with young hounds and all, you should catch one fox. But, like, at the present day, like, I mean, with the antis and all, like, you don't do it no more. Like, I mean, you're going to go to kill, actually.
So it's for sport?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Tell me now, to keep up a pack of hounds, it must be an expensive business, is it?
Yes, it's a very expensive business. In the past, we were lucky enough in the past to have very rich masters who had a lot of money. Captain Freeman Jackson and Hornsby and Shepherd and Baring, which were famous names in Duhallow over the years. But since 1978, the Duhallow Hounds have been run by a committee of mostly local people and business people and farmers in Duhallow under the chairmanship of Dermot O'Mara, and Kevin Thompson has been secretary. And we find that we've quite a lot of goodwill since we have the local people involved.
So it has improved matters a small bit?
I think so, yes.
For the ordinary person with a horse going out hunting, what would it cost them, or what would they need, apart from a reasonably good horse?
Well, to hunt over the country, you want a bit of nerve in Duhallow. It's supposed to be one of the most difficult countries in Ireland to cross. And when they talk about hunting in the rest of the world, Ireland is the best country in the world for hunting. People come from Germany and they talk about hunting, or from England, and when they've hunted in Ireland, they say it's the best.
Many people get hurt falling off. Do they fall off?
Yes, they do fall off every day. I think one of the best hunts I've ever had was from close to this place, parts of the country in the Green Hall. I had 5 falls in the one day, but to me it was a fantastic day's hunting.
Mind you, falling off a horse doesn't seem to me all that fun. What great changes would you say have taken place? You mentioned the wire around the countryside. What would the other changes be?
Not a whole lot. I mean, actually, like, I mean, you have to go with all the time with the farmers, as Dan said. I mean, they're the most sporting crowd in Ireland, in Duhallow. I mean, for me now, I mean, I've several falls myself. The most traumatic of them coming onto roads or off roads is down those. I mean, then, but I don't know. Actually, no. Your question was, Pat?
Yeah, and the many the changes that you'd have seen in the past years.
Oh yeah, I mean there are several changes. Like, just the farming is one thing, as you know yourself. But you were even above the other evening, yesterday evening on the road digging a drain out of your own place. Like, I mean, which is one of them. All the fences are gone. You wire. But like, but actually, when I handed it over to Dan, I mean, Dan was prepared to jump the wire. I mean, I was past it actually, but if you don't jump wire today hunting, you have no chance of getting on, right then?
And horses and wire don't naturally go together, do they?
Well, they do if you get the right type of horse. Then I've got one of many. You know, like, I mean, there's nothing more than the else. But
I think Mick is being very modest.
Yeah.
When I was a child, back when I was about 9 or 10, to me, Mick was my idol at that stage.
Oh, yeah.
And Mick, as you know, is a man from Subalto, which is part of Castlemagner. And Mick is renowned over Duhallow as have been one of the best men to cut a line through Duhallow that's ever been. And it's not, no. Mick has a natural talent to ride over country, and he's done it successfully for 40 years, which is a fair tribute to any man from Castlemagner.
Yeah, that must say something. Then, to wind up the interview, Mick, the lads riding now, are they as good as the lads that were there 40 years ago?
Better than me, actually. I would say that. I mean, I think even last on Kildare we were talking about it, at the Point of Pines, the boys today are better. I mean, you must always turn over to the youth. I mean,
I think that's a very good note to finish on. Thank you both very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, everybody knows Johnny Sullivan's talent. He's going to play a selection. I'm hoping he'll play a selection of waltzes for us, because he's got a couple of beautiful numbers. One of them is Beautiful City, and he put something before that I can't remember it. But when he's finished, I'm sure you'll all appreciate his music and give him the round of applause that he rightly deserves. So this is Johnny Sullivan. He's going to play a selection of waltzes for us.
Coming to Castlemagnor in various forums, various sports and all the rest of it. But just to show that it's not all drawn, that there's a certain amount of brains there as well. I've been joined by Jackie Cronin, a member of the victorious Cork cross-country quiz team. A nice victory, Jackie, was it?
It was nice to put it after right, like, yeah. Especially since Cork were beaten in 5 finals in a row before that. So nice to finish up with a win anyway. Yeah.
How have you always been interested in quizzes?
The last 4 or 5 years anyway, especially since the Gen Numbers on Mark especially.
And obviously you must put in a certain amount of training. How do you prepare for something like a county final of an All-Ireland final of a quiz?
Not looking at it really, you can look up the magazine and books and things. The show looking at it really, it counts more than anything else really.
You'll want to smart with more than look to answer some of them questions, yeah. Would you want a great interest in current affairs, newspapers, magazines and that?
You would, President Ministers and that type of thing, I want to be up to date and that stuff, I like, especially.
And the Taoiseach wouldn't want to reshuffle the cabinet a couple of nights before? Not that I imagine he wouldn't mind that too much. Would it give you an interest in a lot of things that you wasn't interested in before because you'd have to research them and look them up?
Yeah, you'll probably be more interested in books and magazines and stuff like that, right? Things that was happening, the news and that, foreign affairs and that. Can you keep up to date, like?
Are you a good reader?
The times, like, depends on the family.
And the time available, I suppose, yeah. Now, I suppose the trainer of the Cork cross-country quiz team is a legend in his own lifetime, Patrick Sarsfield.
That's right, he's Marcus since the early days and he's not out of the country, like, he's very well organised.
How did you find him to work with?
He's of unusual methods, I don't think so, but actually it was Joey Hansen really helped us with that. He was the Cork captain for 5 years and he was overage last year, but he helped us an awful lot 2 minutes. And also Margaret O'Leary was locally, who was a sub in the team as well. He put a lot of effort into the team that he don't show up, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose like anything else, there were the backroom boys that you don't see at all. What was it like appearing on television?
But most things the lights really was, we did the same place with the late show, but your 4 cameras there, but you would not see me all the lights are blind.
And would you find it terribly warm?
No, it's that thing, we get possibly a bit too nervous, no, it's that thing.
As the quiz went on, would you have an idea how you were going?
Well, yeah, they call up the score after each round and you know how good or bad you were doing.
Yeah. As it came up then to the last round, were the nerves really hopping?
They were, especially this year, because the both rounds were very fierce close against Kildare and Wexford. There was only a couple of questions in it all the ways up and out. So you need change hands in that place, so the pressure was on all the ways.
And does it mean now when you win the All-Ireland you're disqualified for competing anymore?
Finished now, we're retired.
There's a sense of relief in that too, maybe, is there?
It's nice to pull it after the game.
Tell me now, when you'd go around to the ordinary quizzes or say something like score or that, because you've won an All-Ireland, would people expect you to be able to answer almost everything?
Maybe they do, I don't know. It don't make much difference to us, really. Yeah.
And you find sometimes that an ordinary question, a simple question will catch you out?
Only one does to be rhymes and stuff like that, no one gets us.
Are you good enough to rhymes? I suppose looking around, there's a great history of quizzes around the area, isn't there? People like Owen Murphy, Pat Neal, Tim Sherlock as well, yeah?
Well, actually, it is lump sum club really responsible for the success I had, like, because we were very involved in quizzes and it was going around to the boys, and so from with the lads, it really that influenced me to
have a go.
Eat it, like, yes.
Yeah. So,
and, you know, it was actually responsible for me, really. Yeah.
So looking back now, it's going to be something that you can always look back and say, look, whatever happened, I won an All-Ireland anyway.
That's a nice story.
Congratulations, and thanks very much, Jackie.
Thank you.
Lovely, thanks, Jack.
Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the flowers are falling. Danny boy, oh Danny boy, I love you so. And if you come when all the flowers are dying, and I am dead, as dead I may will be, you'll come and find a place where I am lying, and kneel and say another day for me, and I shall hear the soft dew trend above me, and all my dreams will warm and sweeter be. If you'll not fail to tell me that you love me, I will sleep in peace until you come to me.
About GEA all night and about administration and all the rest of it, but I've been joined by possibly one of the better known Castlemagner players. Would that be fair to say, Johnny O'Connell?
Well, I don't know. But you've enough heard about the GA now, so I'll tell you a little story. Well, there's only a few of the veterans here now, about John Joe Hagen, Jack Falvey, Pat Hannigan, and Paddy Lee Hall. I was invited up to Cork for a trial with the Cork miners. Mort Connor, that was the man that contacted me to go. The first thing we had to do was Saturday morning was to tackle the horse and trap. That's something now to tell the boys today. On we went into Mala, we tied the horse to a pole. The sat into the train and we were told going to the train to mind going around the bins. we got up the cock and we tugged out and we had our train and the train was returning at 8:30 and it happened that the train didn't start till 8 o'clock and we were late for the train. So Seamus, my brother, was with me and I said the white-head cow was expecting tonight and we had to get home. We said we'd walk around and we meet a friend. And the friend was Morris Buckley of Charleville. He's a doctor today in England. And he said the only way we're getting home now is to go to the Metropole and we'll meet the County Heron. He was up at the Dogs.
Who was he now?
A brother of the Bombers. we got, he was gambling at the time and then so we sat in Down. We arrived in Mala at 4:30. And there was nothing nicer coming out the navigation road that morning with the horse stepping and to hear the cuckoo singing. And we were happy by to get home and after us that morning.
I suppose I should ask, did the white-head cow calve?
And the bull. White-head bull.
Tell me, looking back on your playing days, Johnny, what were the highlights?
I'd say the greatest honour I had was winning the junior hurling in Cork against Ballinhassig.
Was that a great thrill?
It was to win by a point. That was the greatest thrill I had.
Was it that tight it was?
It was that tight. Yeah. We won 3 counties, one of them 3 points, the other 2, and against Ballinhassig 1 point. Yeah.
There wasn't any more room for mistakes after the one?
No more room for mistakes after that.
Was there a great spirit in those teams? Were you very united?
Yeah. Well, you had 20, let alone 5, 6, 7, 8, 20 men. And the 20 of them were training every night in the field. And you won't bring success unless you at least 20 men playing in the field every night. Yeah.
Have you got to be able to say, if some lad isn't pulling your weight, look lad, if you don't buck up, I have a man to replace you?
Well, you must have that. And you must have 15 even men. Every man must be pulling their weight. They said Johnny Conn was good, Mick Shea was good, and all these fellows were good. There wasn't any of them good, but you had 15 good men. That's what counted.
Is it very important then to have a team rather than good individuals?
A team. A team is what counts.
Who would have been training you that time?
Yes, I don't know. Yeah, we more trained ourselves the full life.
What kind of training would you do? Would you do a lot of running or?
We done a lot of running and the training is from the middle of the week on. You're training for 3 weeks. Well, if you give up training Tuesday night, well, if you mope around drinking porter and smoking 5 of the right, you might well stop at home.
The last
training we start now.
The last couple of days are very important.
You must be the bed at 3 o'clock and they're the days to count.
Yeah. I suppose it's true to say that if you haven't that kind of a commitment, you've no business at the bit.
You've no business wearing a black and amber jersey. Yeah.
Tell me now, Castle Magna were good that time. Who were the other good clubs around, say, the Duhallow area?
Well, it was Cantock, Dumtara, and Newmarket.
And Newmarket. They'd be kind of the 3 big ones. Yeah. Yeah. Tell me, what do you think of the standard of football today? Eh?
Well, it's cleaner as well today. It's tougher in our time. Yeah. We hit harder then.
Are they a bit soft?
They are a bit soft today, They are a bit soft.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Jackie Connell was saying there earlier on, you know, that there was some lovely football between Kerry and Dublin. Would you have enjoyed watching those matches?
Well, I would, and I also watched Jackie Connell himself, you were talking about now and interviewed him earlier. He was playing with Castle Magna for about 10 years, and he was going off at the end of his time, and he left 2 or 3 balls past him. God blast me, said Jack. I used to close my eyes and the ball come in.
He was a good man his time, was he?
He was a good man till died beside me.
It would be important to be able to see it too.
Good. This man on my right here, Johnny Mac. A smart little story about Johnny. It happened below a band here. He was playing with Kilbreen. Cork were playing the same day, and that right, Johnny? There was a puck out, and Johnny doubling the ball and put it back in over the bar. What never happened in any man's lifetime.
Did you ever see anyone else to do it?
No, I never will again.
Never will again, yeah.
Never will again.
Yeah. Looking so at Castlemagner today, what do you think? You got to see him playing occasionally?
Sure.
Yeah. What do you think of him? What do you think of him?
They have a fine bunch of young fellas. You would look at them going to mass order and you could say that they are all 6 feet. We were only all small men.
Yes.
But a small man, if he's first to the ball, he'll always win. You want him?
We always ate it up.
You didn't find being small being any
No,
disadvantage?
because I was first to the ball.
Come here.
And about how many medals?
How many, other funny incidents, queer happenings you must have across your time? You must have come across a lot of queer things. Can you recall any other ones? At matches or after matches?
No, but it was we would repeat it like the corns and until I go up to one time. That's look at the game.
That bit of look on it, yeah.
Bit of look on it.
Oh, yeah. You were saying that you went to Malin, the Pawnee and Trapper. Is that how you went to most of the matches? Pawnee and Trapper bicycle?
But that was way back in 1946.
That was before my time. Liam Kelleher would remember it.
And I said it before Paddy Torban's time when he flew the bike down.
He never travelled by Pawnee and Trapper.
He never travelled by Pawnee and Trapper.
So, finally, Johnny, looking back on it, no regrets, and a lot of happy memories.
And a lot of happy memories.
And it was worth all the effort.
It was worth every bit of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Connell. Ladies and gentlemen, to change sports once again, and it just dawned on me, for someone who knows absolutely nothing about sport, I've been doing a lot of talking about it all night. I've been joined here by Dennis O'Connell and Connie Mylan, both members of Duhallow Wheelers, is it? Have I got it right, Connie?
Correct.
Tell me, you've done a fairish bit in cycling. How did you start?
Oh, I tell you now, it was Michael from back here that started me. He was a great cyclist, and we was in cross country with Michael Lango, and he put on a band he does in, we wanted for running cross country, and then did a cycling club, so I cycled with them in '69.
Had you any great interest in cycling up to then?
Not really. Not really.
No, cycling is something that you must put in an immense amount of practice in, is it?
Yeah, that's correct. If we don't practice, it's the same as any sport, you're not good. If we don't practice, you're not good.
You must put in the dedication.
That's correct.
Yeah. Now, having been bitten by the bug and having got that jersey, where did you go from there, and what were the highlights?
The highlights, I started in '69. I was novice in '70. I was junior in '71. I won a championship in '71 in music sports, May '71.
Over what distance now would that be?
3,000 meters in the track.
So that would be very fast, would it?
To be fast, all right. Yeah. The year after, I came back and I retained it. After that then, I joined Duhallow Wheelers then after that, and they were great companies, you know, and they're going very well at the moment, and they have a stage of the last Holland, this year now in Kentucky, community Kentucky from, the stage is coming from come from Limerick to Kentucky this year.
And that's going to pose big problems in this for organising?
Yeah, for accommodation, we'll say.
But I suppose as we come nearer to that, we'll probably hear more about that on local radio. We'll be back to you again. But just switching for a moment now to Dennis O'Connell. Dennis, how did you become involved?
I used to be running with, well, I was called running, what I know now what it's like to train, but I used to get an awful mocking about running. I was no Eamon Coughlin or any day Sebastian Coes or anything, but I started running with Sally's Cross back in 70, but then they started a cycling club, athletic and cycling club, and I always wanted to be a cyclist when I was going to the running, and I used to get a loan of a bike for the races the lads wouldn't be racing in, and I went from there until 72. I started racing. I sold 2 greyhound pups. That's where I got the money to buy a bike, and I bought it for £55 and I got 65 for the dogs, and this is how I started. So I bought one the following year then in 73 for £75 complete.
Had you any greyhound pup to trade in for that one?
No, but I have a greyhound pup again now, and I reckon I'll be selling the £1,000 bike to be keeping the greyhound pup going now.
So, looking at it now, should you concentrate on the greyhounds or on the cycling, do you think?
No, I believe that, you know, a man should have an interest in everything and local community if he can, and try to get things going. But today's age for young fellas to start, it's impossible, because the cost of gear and maintenance of bikes and clothing is, gone beyond the working man. You wouldn't want to be working anymore.
Yeah. A normal racing bicycle now, say a young lady is 17, 18, starting out, a reasonably good bike, what would it cost him?
Well, a young fella starting out today, about 250 or 300 pounds would do him all right for a start, you know. And that there's no need, we're not all Sean Kelly's, and we never will. We wouldn't lace his shoes if it came to it. You know, they're few like.
I suppose when Kelly and Roach were in the Nissan International, did you follow some of that around the country?
No, I did not follow the Nissan thing, no. Back in 82 we went to Goodwood to see the World Championships, which Kelly finished third. And that is one of the greatest things, you know, to see the world's best at it, like. That's beautiful to see that, and the sight alone, like.
There's no doubt, I suppose Kelly and Roach, they really have put cycling on as a sport on the map, haven't they?
They have, in my eyes, they're the Irish ambassadors for sport. They can say whatever they like about who they like, but they can cycle the best in the world against all the Europeans and everything, and they can beat them all at home or abroad. And
I was asking Connie there what the highlights of his cycling career so far were. What would you say were the highlights of yours?
Well, one or an all. Connie won in 71, 72, the junior championship. I came on the following year junior, and I won the junior thing. Well, I had no more years junior then. I was too old when I started, they said. But we've had many things, you know, around the country, spills and trills and punctures, and meet a lot of people, and awkward people, and potholes, and they're our worst enemy today. And but in general, you meet characters around the country, and this is what keeps the game going. You know, the people that everybody's ambition and idol wants to be professional in every game, like. But they're few. You know, you just can't be a professional to dream about it. Like, you must put in. When we're training and talking about training, back through the past 2 years now, we're at it 4 or 5, I think, going back to 70. But we'll be talking about maybe 250 or 300 miles a week. And that's after a day's work, you know. After putting in 8 or 9, 10 hours there, you've got to turn around and put in maybe 40 or 50 miles. And that's only on after the day's work. But Saturdays and Sundays, then you'll be talking about 80 and 90 miles, like. And this is what the fun of it is like. But there's a friends of ours up in Kildare, and their names are Emmanuel Tackerberry and Mick Kinsella, and they used to be very close to each other. They were in the one club, and they used to be battling with each other now, which one of them was the best. Like, the two of them are average enough now, like, and they were going off the boil at this time, and there was a stage of the Ross in Kildare, and there was a 7-mile time trial, so they decided whichever one of the two of them would win the time trial between the two, private battle, that he'd be the king for once and for all. There'd be no more battle about it. So Tackerberry was left off first, and didn't he hit a pothole, and his false teeth fell out, and do or die he couldn't stop to pick him up because the battle was on. And as it turned out, wasn't Mick Kinsella left off after him, and didn't hear all over the false teeth and he got punctured.
With good days and bad days, but I tell you, we often had great days, but with one bad day back in Kerry, we went from Yahal, I think Yahal now, to Caharsavine, and I was tailed off, really tailed off. I was about, we'll say 10 minutes down in the bunch. I think I got, we'll say 5 punches. I was tailed off anyway. So I came around the bend about 10 miles from Caharsavine, and there was 4 Kerry fellas. Is Tom Griffin here now? I came around the bend, and there was a fella with a shovel. He was chaining out the dike. And there was another fella laying up in the shovel. No, I was well back. But the fella was laying up in the shovel. He said to me, he said, "Do you want a flash lamp?" He said. "Do you want a flash lamp?"
That'd do your confidence great good, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Finally, you're always, I suppose, on the lookout into wheelers for young cyclists. Are there a number of young people coming up all the time?
There are a few. There's a nephew of Liam's, and you know, the young fellas, like, they think today's age, you're born with a strong pair of legs, that you're a winner, you know. That's not on. You must get in the dedication, the hours, the time, sacrifice everything. Your home life is, you know, because you got to go out and train morning, evening if you can, and get in the miles and eat well. Like, that's the only way on. But you know, you just can't live in a cup of tea or a boiled egg, you know, and it's not on, like, and that's it.
In other words, you must be dedicated. Ladies and gentlemen, Dennis and Kanye. I'm not used to using one of these yokes. Before we go into the final sing-song, ladies and gentlemen, I would like, on behalf of Barry, Liam and all of us at Community Radio, to say thank you very much indeed for your reception here tonight. We came expecting a lot of talent and a reasonably good crowd, and we were amazed at what was there. We thought we'd get 1 hour, maybe 2. We got 3 hours, almost 4. And for that, I want to say a very sincere thank you to Penny Tobin, who put in a huge effort. And I think he deserves a lot. As well as course as thanking Paddy, I must thank Eileen and his comments there. And there was such a one advice from the other, yeah. And of course, above all, our host and hostess for the night, Jeff and Mrs. O'Donoghue. We say a very sincere thank you to them. I hope you'll enjoy hearing at least some of what is going to come out. And I will say, look, rise the roof for the last chorus, please. Thank you all very much indeed. Let's have it on you. It's switched on. Want to put it in, Father?
Is it tomorrow?